Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
If Minshew takes care of the ball, the Eagles are going to win the game. Christmas Eve, the Eagles are going to win the game if Minshew does not turn the ball over. Mark that, tape it, play it back next week. I'm telling you, have Josh do it. I'm saying if Minshew doesn't turn the ball over, I'm talking about Minshew, not other people. The quarterback doesn't turn the ball over because of a strip sack, negative play, or an interception. The Eagles will lead Dallas with home field throughout the NFC. They'll win the game.
Just days ago, that was Sal Paolantonio on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. Well, Sal Pal, you dropped my name in the middle of that, so I had to oblige and bring it back. Josh Hennig, still here for Mike Gill alongside Nick Earnshaw here at the 97.3 ESPN Studios. Merry Christmas, day after. Hope you're all, maybe got some extra sleep. Maybe you enjoyed your family and your friends. You got what you wanted for Christmas. But you definitely didn't get an Eagles win. It was not a clinch miss for Philadelphia Eagles, Nick.
No, it wasn't. It was not a great game on Saturday, on Christmas Eve. I mean, the turnovers, like Sal Pal mentioned, if they didn't turn the ball over, they probably win that game. It's insane to me that they even had a shot to win at the end with turning the ball over 4 times. That shows how good of a team the Philadelphia Eagles are. So I'm not as concerned as some people are, but the Philadelphia Eagles could have came away with an opportunity to clinch home field. They just did not. The turnovers were the X factor in that ball game. And
like Sal Paolantonio said, it was literally, and I mean literally, if Minshew doesn't turn the ball over, he said none of the people. So if you take out the 2 interceptions that Minshew threw, you could argue that the Eagles still would have won that game. And realistically, this is where we were having the conversations last week, Nick. Whether it was, here at 97.3 ESPN or other stations, we heard it all week, right? There was a group of the fan base that didn't want the Eagles to win because it would make Hurts's MVP case diminished, right? Well, I don't think we're concerned about the MVP case anymore. What we're concerned about is how are we going to win this next game? Because the news came out this morning, for those who didn't see or hear it, 2 important news items. Number 1, Lane Johnson will miss the rest of the regular season with what Adam Schefter is describing as a torn abdominal region tendon. Okay, now let's be realistic. The abdominal region is pretty large, so it's not fair to assume anything right now. But then the news about Avonte Maddox comes out. Oh, he's out indefinitely with a toe injury. Now, I got to tell you, if you asked me what is the more concerning, Nick, I don't know if I have the right answer. Maybe you can give me a better answer, because Lane Johnson's arguably one of the best right tackles in all of football, if not the best tackle in football. He has allowed a sack in what feels like forever, basically.
2020 was the last time he allowed a sack.
Right, basically forever. So, and then you have Avonte Maddox, where every game he has not played, the Eagles have been sliced and diced from the slot, and they got abused by CeeDee Lamb running Oklahoma Sooner routes from the slot in Saturday's game. So maybe you have a better answer for me, Nick, because I don't know what's the more problematic guy missing from this team.
Josh, I have an absolute slam dunk answer for you. Listen, it's huge to lose Avonte Maddox, but we've already seen Avonte Maddox miss time this season. He's already been out with injury throughout the entirety of the year. He's been in and out. Now he's going to probably miss the remainder of the regular season. Lane Johnson is more important to me because he is, like I mentioned, like we were just talking about, he hasn't allowed a sack since 2020. That's unbelievable. Since week 11, according to Pro Football Focus, has not allowed a sack. Now, when you have the best right tackle in football and Jalen Hurts, and if you look at the record with Lane Johnson, when he misses time. They're under 500, like way under 500. I believe they only have 9 win. They're like 9-21 or something like that over the past few seasons when they are without Lane Johnson. He is the rock along with Jason Kelce on that offensive line. So when you don't have the best right tackle in football and you have to now mix and match with some of your offensive linemen, you don't know. Maybe you go with Driscoll on the right side, or you can mix and match, move Mailata to the right side, and also bring in Andre Dillard. That's a possibility. Sure. But this is huge. The offensive line has been extremely healthy all season long for the Philadelphia Eagles, has been their bread and butter, and has helped Jalen Hurts kind of elevate his game this year. But Avonte Maddox, big loss. I think Lane Johnson is more concerning to me, especially if you don't know if you're going to get him back for the playoffs.
Here's the exact number. When the Eagles have Lane Johnson, they are 72-44-1. That's a 62% winning percentage. When they do not have him, they are 12-20, a 37.5 winning percentage. So you are right. There is a strong discrepancy. Now, you could also argue, though, they always haven't had this depth on the offensive line some of those years. 2016, they didn't have a good enough guy coming in there, for those games. And that's a big reason why they lost all those games in a row in 2016. I believe they lost 10 games without him in 2016 because the people who were playing right tackle were so poor. So you would have to think that whether it is Mailata, as you mentioned, or if it is sticking Driscoll out there, personally, I would see if Mailata feels comfortable doing it, and I would go that way because I still can keep Driscoll as my swing in case of an emergency. But I think that the tackles right now at least are a better fill-in than 2016, for example.
Yeah, no, I think you do have a lot of depth on the offensive line, and that is huge. And you can, if Mailata wants to move over, if he feels comfortable over at the right tackle position, all right, cool. Then you can move Dillard to left tackle and see what he has. But I think Lane Johnson is so superior to so many offensive linemen in the NFL, and especially Andre Dillard, Driscoll. I mean, there's no comparison. Lane Johnson is ridiculous on the offensive line, and then also on the defensive side. When we bring up Avonte Maddox and that injury, you also have the possibility of getting C.J. Gardner-Johnson back very soon, coming off IR. Mm-hmm. So what you could do is what he did in New Orleans. In New Orleans, Gardner-Johnson played in the slot corner. You don't have to have Josiah Scott there playing corner. We saw the 3rd and 30 he gave up. You don't want that to happen again. So maybe you can keep Reed Blankenship back there. He's done okay as a fill-in at safety. So, yeah, I mean, they have options. Now, I think they're more thin on the defensive side in the secondary than they are on the offensive line. And I think that even though you can mix and match on the offensive line, the drop-off from Lane Johnson to a Driscoll to a Dillard, it's more, I think, substantial because you can still play around a little bit in the secondary on the Eagles.
You say play around the secondary. Nick Earnshaw joining me, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. My concern, though, is you mentioned the defense. They didn't make adjustments on Saturday night. And I'm not saying a defense lost them the game, but it certainly didn't help, right? And at some point, the people like me, okay, who were questioning Jonathan Gannon coming into this year, games like that give us fuel to be cynical about him. Because how many times this year has Jonathan Gannon gone into a locker room and made adjustments? Most of the year, right? He did it in the Houston game. He did it in the Washington game. Right? No one talks about how well they played the second half of those games. We only remember the first half typically, right? The adjustments they made when they brought in Linval Joseph, but they brought in Ndamukong Suh. The fact that this defense, before Jordan Davis went down, was really hitting its stride in terms of rotations and doing different things. So for the majority of the year, Jonathan Gannon has done a good job. But then you see a game like Saturday night, and you're sitting there wherever you are. You're at home, you're with your family, you're dodging the relatives, you're at the local bar, you're wherever you're watching the game, right? There's a part of you that's saying, how on God's green earth is Avonte Maddox the most important player on this defense? Like, that in and of itself, it just is insane to me.
No, listen, Jonathan Gannon, he's had his ups and downs, but overall, if you look at his body of work this year, it's been good. It's been really good. And he's going to get head coaching offers this offseason. He's going to have interviews. No doubt in my mind, he's going to have interviews this offseason. Yeah, they had a clunker against the Cowboys. Okay, so what? And I'm going to actually defend Jonathan Gannon. I think,
please do. I would love to have this argument.
Listen, I think throughout the entirety, and listen, I've been very critical of Jonathan Gannon in the past, but when it comes to the body of work that he has shown this season as a whole, he has made adjustments. They found ways to win. And, when you have a Darius Slay, you have a James Bradbury on the outside, and you possibly are getting a CJ Gardner-Johnson back, I think you're going to be in an okay spot. Now, in the Cowboys game, there was adjustments that need to be made. No doubt in my mind. I agree with that. I trust them going into next week against the Saints. I really do, especially if they get him back. If they really do get him back, I think they'll be okay if they utilize those guys, right? And I think Gannon will put them in the right position.
But if they don't get CJ back,
then you're in a little bit of trouble.
Even against the Saints.
Yeah, even against the Saints. Even though they have one of the worst wide receiving cores in the league.
I mean, it's literally Chris Olave, you and me for the Saints, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And I can't catch. So maybe you a better catching receiver than I can be.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. You have to see if I can get out there.
I mean, the Saints are a miserable offense. They're 22nd in the NFL in scoring. So, you should be able to handle them because they're a much lesser group they're bringing in. So maybe Sunday is an opportunity for you to maybe, tighten the bolts, clean up the car, put the air freshener in there, maybe get the bad taste out of your mouth from the last game.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Saints, listen, even though they're somehow still a little bit relevant with the playoff positioning because they're in the worst division in football, I get it. I just don't see the Saints coming into Philadelphia and beating the Eagles. Because you have to remember, the Eagles also, that was their third straight road game in a row.
Right.
Very difficult to go on the road and win 3 in a row. And I don't care if you're the best team in the NFL or not. Very difficult to do. And then go in against a really good team in Dallas, especially a division opponent. So that's part of it. They're now back home. I think the Eagles are still miles ahead of the New Orleans Saints. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be able to rest some guys. Hopefully by the end of the game, they can get more backups in, some playing time, rest more of their starters. I think they'll be okay. I think they have no problem against the New Orleans Saints. I'm not scared of them. The Eagles shouldn't be either. I think even with Minshew, if Minshew plays even like he did against Dallas, I think they're going to be okay. I think Minshew is a serviceable backup in this league, and against this New Orleans team, they just don't have enough to scare me.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with Minshew is that those 2 interceptions, it wasn't the Cowboys' defense. That was Minshew making some either bad reads or having bad information fed into his helmet. Now, we don't have access to that audio, so I don't know what's being said to him pre-snap, but it was obvious.
It'd be nice, right? It'd be nice to have access.
Oh, I would love that.
It'd be great.
I would be in my glory breaking down that on the radio, but I'd be replaying that back in the ZipRecruiter film. But for me, I look at the J-Ron Curse interception as an example of the guy read Minshew's eyes. You go back and rewatch that play, and you realize that Minshew predetermined before the snap that he was going to go one of 2 places. And he stared down the receiver, cursed the safety, who, by the way, is much taller than Quez Watkins. Okay? Quez Watkins is maybe, 6 foot on a good day?
About 6 foot, I believe, yeah.
Curse, I believe, is like 6'3". So you already got a safety who's bigger and longer than you, reading the quarterback and breaking on the ball and makes a play on it. That's Minshew's fault. He can't stare down a receiver. So does Minshew do that all the time? No. His background shows you from college to pro that he's not a quarterback who typically does that. So maybe this is where, and I hate using this term, but the ring rust in mixed martial arts, the idea that a guy hasn't fought in a while. Maybe he doesn't have the full awareness of the cage and, the speed and timing of things. I have to think that part of Minshew maybe was ready physically, but not fully ready mentally for that game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, when you sit behind Jalen Hurts all season,
And you get one practice.
Yeah.
One practice.
Yeah, especially this week, dealing with the Mike Leach funeral, condolences to everyone out there regarding Mike Leach. But yeah, I mean, it was a wild week for Gardner Minshew, thrown into the fire as the starting quarterback with the Jalen Hurts injury coming out. His old head coach in college had passed away. I mean, he was flying all across country all week. So, I mean, yeah, that could be part of it. But this team almost had a chance to win the game in the end. That's how good they are. This is how good the Philadelphia Eagles are. The fact that they turned the ball over 4 times, he threw 2 picks, and they still had a chance in the last drive to potentially still win the ball game. I mean, that makes me a little more confident heading into the Saints game, heading into the Giants game. If they can't get it done against the Saints for some reason, which I think they will, I think they'll clinch it. You should still be confident. You had your backup quarterback in there on a crazy week. No Jalen Hurts. I think if they had Jalen Hurts, this is an easy win. I think the Eagles will probably win by 15 or 20 in this ballgame. That's how good the Eagles are. I think the more concerning part is they're losing guys. The guys are getting hurt. The problem of not winning that Dallas game is now you run the risk of having more players out there against the Saints potentially get hurt. That is what could happen against New Orleans. So that's, I think, the loss in this sense, is that you now run the risk of getting more guys injured. You already saw Lane get hurt. Now Avonte Maddox is out. Hopefully they can come away with the New Orleans game with a win, clinch the home field advantage, the number 1 seed in the playoffs, without having a lot of guys go on injured reserve, come away with an injury. So that's what I'm looking for in this game. That's where I think the loss came from, Josh, is that you're starting to get to the point in the season where guys are banged up and they turn into bigger injuries at this point in the year.
This was Damian Woody earlier on SportsCenter, specifically reacting to the Lane Johnson news. Again, Lane Johnson expected to miss the rest of the season with a torn tendon in his abdominal region. Former NFL offensive lineman Damian Woody said this.
Saw it in the game against the Cowboys when he went out. The Cowboys were able to get pressure on the right side of that offensive line, and Lane Johnson is one of the best linemen that we have in the National Football League. I hope that this doesn't extend into the postseason, but he is a huge part of this thing. And we always talk about coming down the stretch, part of the formula for winning it all is, attrition, health. Well, if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, you got the quarterback hurt. Now you have this star offensive tackle hurt. They need this bye. They need to get a win and get this bye in the worst way.
I love how he said at the end, they need this bye. They have to get this bye, because this is where the pressure gets put back onto the Eagles now, okay? The pressure was on Dallas to win on Saturday, right? They had to win if, 1, they had any hope at the division, Dallas, and 2, if they want to ensure that they don't drop below that 5 spot in the playoff standings. Let's be realistic. This weekend was a weird weekend, right?
Yes, it
was. The Packers needed everyone ahead of them to lose, and they all lost, right? The Giants lost.
Tell me there's a chance, Josh. Tell me there's a chance.
Oh, there's a chance, baby. There's a chance. Washington lost. The Giants lost. The Lions-Panthers game was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, right?
Yeah, how about that?
And it's like, and the Packers go down to Miami, beat Miami, Tua throws 3 INTs, and Rodgers after the game is like, well, we needed all these things to happen, and they did. So here we are. And it's just like
it's like how is any of this it's why it's the best. That's
right.
why the NFL's
so for football, and just understanding where the league is right now, Nick, you have to think that what Damian Woody says is right. Like, you got to get that bye week. The pressure is now on the Eagles to win the Saints game. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning, right? As Dominic Toretto would say. Go in there. If you have to win a rock fight with the Saints, go in there, win the rock fight, do whatever you got to do, because this bye week may be the difference between you winning and losing in the postseason.
Yeah. I mean, if you can clinch home field advantage throughout the playoffs, you make your trek to the Super Bowl much easier. If you're playing at the Link, 2 games, you have the divisional game and the conference championship. If you're able to clinch that, you're in a much better position to get to the promised land. And, getting that bye is going to be huge, because if you can clinch it this week, you'll have not 1, but 2 weeks off. I think that's huge. Now, last week, if they did clinch and beat the Cowboys, the concern would have been, is a month off for Jalen Hurts too long? Now it's like, and I think it is. Now it's like, maybe you can, for me, would you want Jalen Hurts to play in any of these games? I don't know. Does he play this weekend? We'll see. I think they win with Minshew, but I think for the Eagles, for the entirety of the team, you want everyone to have these 2 weeks off because you need to get everyone else healthy. Lane Johnson needs to get healthy. Avonte Maddox needs to get healthy now. You need to get everyone else healthy, and then you can kind of worry about Jalen Hurts. And do you want to give him a little bit of time in the Giants game, maybe a quarter or so, just so he's not off for an entire month? Maybe. That can be into consideration.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank. So, I know it's the day after Christmas, but I'm allowed one more day of Christmas music. Okay, I'm allowed one more day.
Holiday season, Josh.
Okay. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Lane Johnson injured. Avonte Maddox out indefinitely. How did the Eagles' loss impact your Christmas holiday weekend? Did the Sixers win actually the bad taste out of your mouth? Or was it kind of just a consolation prize? It was like getting the bronze medal at the Olympics, right? Like, how do you guys feel now on December 26th about the Eagles? 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Get your game on. The Gallery, bar booking games, and Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ryan Roston will be back at the Ocean, broadcasting live this Wednesday here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. So not a Monday at Ocean. It's a Wednesday at the Ocean this week. I mean, it's a crazy schedule this time of year. For those who don't know, I'm in today and tomorrow. Ryan's at Ocean on Wednesday. Nick and Ryan are over at Chickies and Pete's on Thursday. We have bowl games all day Friday. Billy Schweim is back Saturday and Sunday this weekend. We have no shows on Monday because of bowl games. And then Mike Gill is back on January 3rd.
How about that?
You get all that?
I think so. I think I got all that. I'm not sure. I might have to write it down a little bit. I might have to remember. I don't know.
I feel like we need the guy from A Beautiful Mind to map it all out for us.
Right. Yeah. No.
John Nash.
It's gonna be a fun week though, for sure. A lot of great sports talk coming your way.
All right. More talk on the Eagles. Nick asked a question about if they win the Saints game, what they should do in the Giants game. We'll dig deeper into that coming up next. Don't forget, still to come on the show, Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City at 2:40. Scott Grayson and his Grayson's Grays over at 97.3 ESPN.com at 3:20. Football at 4 with Jeff Mosher, Eagles insider from the Inside the Birds podcast. One thought, every game, football scientist Casey Joyner at 5 p.m. and Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports. Colin joins us at 5:30. Still a busy Monday on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN.
Looking to start the year off right?
Happy New Year.
Head to 97.3ESPN.com. Download the free mobile app and keep listening to 97.3 ESPN. Oh, and Happy New Year.
This report is brought to you by EMT Solar and Roofing. EMT Solar and Roofing can help you get qualified for a free roof with solar installation. Apply now at ESPNsolar.com.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's a red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%, and every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum $10,000 for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
At my age, I never dreamed I'd be dealing with opioid addiction.
I was pregnant and I couldn't stop.
Getting sidelined by an injury was bad, but the cravings were way worse.
Then I heard about 844-REACH-NJ.
They connected me to treatment and I had a healthy baby.
844-REACH-NJ was the call that made the difference.
Thank goodness I made the call.
So glad I made the call for both of us.
REACH-NJ. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, call 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
O'Reilly. Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $33.99. Try Syntec today, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Score a touchdown when you move your high-rate loans to Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union. Catch a low rate when you refinance your loans, including home, auto, and credit cards. Learn how much you can save by visiting JerseyShoreFCU.org. Tackle your debt and choose better banking at Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union, Atlantic and Cape May County's only community credit union. You can lower your monthly payments or pay off your loan faster. Federally insured by NCUA and Equal Housing Lender. Visit JerseyShoreFCU.org today.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Wait, stop the countdown. It's the final days of the Kia Season of Giving Back sales event. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That does not mean you can't drive it home tomorrow. With peace of mind, Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you are virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Sorento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 1/31/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Josh Hennig, along with Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill on a Monday edition of the Sports Bash. Eagles lose, Sixers win. I mean, did the Sixers win really make you feel any better, Nick?
A little bit.
A little bit?
A little bit better, yeah. I felt a little better having at least one Philadelphia team win this weekend.
I mean, you know it wasn't going to be the Flyers. They weren't available.
No.
You know, they're on their holiday break or whatever they call it now.
Sixers won 8 straight?
Yeah. Sixers have won 8 straight. Eagles lose in Dallas. Text board is open, 609-403-0973 is text board. You want to jump in the conversation. Lane Johnson out for the rest of the regular season. There's a chance he can come back for the postseason. Avonte Maddox out indefinitely. You also have Sixers winning 8 straight. Minshew throws 2 interceptions. How are you guys feeling today? Texter chimes in. It says, Josh, can the Eagles go get Kevon LeBlanc to play the nickel? He's probably better than Josiah Scott.
Oh, man. LeBlanc, he's on the street right now.
I have no idea where he is. I would have to look. I had to look that up. Yeah, it was him, Devontae Bosby, and Shandon Sullivan were the 3 corners the Eagles brought in when they got sliced and diced by the Saints in the regular season in 2018. The law firm of Bosby, LeBlanc, and Sullivan failed you.
I
get what's that?
He had the interception in the playoff game, didn't he, against the Saints? LeBlanc did.
In the playoff game.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, and the texter's right. There's a part of you that does look at the game on Saturday and you're cringing when you see Josiah Scott on the field and they're constantly attacking him. And they're attacking him to the point that when Josiah Scott doesn't do his route correctly, and then CeeDee Lamb crosses into Slay and Bradbury zones, that they look bad because Josiah Scott didn't do his job. I mean, I had a guy next to me on Saturday. He kept saying, Darius Slay's having a horrible game. I'm trying to explain to him, that's not Darius Slay's man. He's crossing from one part of the coverage to another. And the guy who's supposed to be, crossing in with him is not doing the job.
Yeah, and after the game, Darius Slay didn't seem too pleased with Josiah Scott in his post-game remarks. So, yeah, like it wasn't necessarily all Darius Slay's fault. I mean, he's put in a position in zone coverage. He was asking for help, especially on that 3rd and 30 play. Yeah. He thought he had help behind him, and Josiah Scott was just not there.
Well, the same thing with the Bradbury touchdown.
Right.
Bradbury, if you go back and rewatch that play from the higher view, you realize that Bradbury is not expecting CeeDee Lamb to be his responsibility because he's looking somewhere completely different. And then he turns around and he sees Lamb and he's like, oh no, I got to try to get him. And it's just too late.
This is why you hope you get Gardner Johnson back ASAP, so you can kind of fix some of these issues that they're having in the secondary. Losing Avonte Maddox, that 3rd and 30 doesn't happen. Those type of plays don't happen. And, if you're able to get some of these guys back off injury, this is why this game's so important of winning, because then you can rest some of these guys, especially on defense, and you're not, because you are very thin in the secondary. Like on the top, you have Slay, you have Bradbury, you have Maddox, you have Gardner Johnson, but after that, it's not great. You're very thin in the secondary, and this was kind of known going in. They brought in Anthony Harris once again to kind of help fill that void in the secondary. They don't have a ton of depth at the corner position or at the safety position. So getting these guys healthy and keeping them healthy heading into the playoffs, that is so key in these last 2 final games.
Also on the text board, 609-403-0973, Dave chimes in. Hello, Dave. And he says, both of those interceptions are on Watkins. I will have to agree to disagree with Dave. I can't accept a quarterback staring down a receiver and blaming the receiver for that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to blame both of them because I think Quez started slowing down a little bit on his route. I wholeheartedly believe he did not finish the route.
Well, you made the comment earlier, Nick, that he's done this multiple times.
Yeah, he has. Quez Watkins has given up on routes before. He is a guy that is just going to take the top off. I don't like him running in these kind of slant routes, type routes, post routes. Quez Watkins is the guy who's going to take the top off. I want him going go routes, and that's really it. Because other than that, he's given up on a lot of these routes that he's run, and that was clear on that interception. And yeah, I think Minshew, like to your point, was staring down the receiver, but Watkins has to finish the route. He has to finish the route, and maybe you don't turn that into an interception. I don't know. If he finishes it and he's able to keep going across the field, maybe something different happens. But yeah, Minshew can't stare down a receiver either. So I'm going to blame the both of them. I think it's on both of them.
if it's not Watkins running those routes, who else should it be though? You know what I mean? Like are you like, for example, would you tell Watkins to go to the outside and put Smith in the slot in that situation?
You could.
You know, or are you saying I need to see more Zach Pascal in that situation?
I think Pascal's been really good this year. You know, in the spots that he's been asked to come up big, he's made some pretty good catches this year. So yeah, I don't mind Pascal at times in those type of situations when you're running that type of offense. So yeah, maybe not give Pascal an opportunity on those type of routes going over the middle instead of Watkins, because Watkins, I want to see burn people. I don't really see him go across the middle, because if he's going to give out up on routes like that, I'd prefer Pascal in that situation.
I think this gets back to the question we were talking about the coach. Excuse me, the coaches earlier. Excuse me. You know, Steichen gets stubborn sometimes in his play call.
Oh, 100% does.
So is this a situation where, like you saw in the Bears game and also in the Washington game, where they get stuck in doing certain things? Is Watkins running these routes to you, Nick, an example of them saying, hey, this is what we want to do, instead of saying this is what we should do?
I would say yes. I mean, the Bears game is a perfect example. They, for some reason, they had in their mind they're going to pass. And Jalen Hurts, you know, when you're in a game like that, you want to run the ball. I mean, it's freezing cold. You're going against the worst defensive front in football, one of the worst, at least, in football, and you continue to pass. Like, some of these things, they get stuck in their ways a little bit, I feel like, at times. Not a ton, because they do make adjustments. Not to say they don't. But at times, yes, Steichen does kind of get set in his own ways, is a little bit stubborn at times with certain situations like that in his play calling. So yeah, maybe you want to mix it up, get Pascal involved a little bit on those routes, and, you know, or maybe just go to Quez Watkins and say, hey, you got to finish these, because this has happened throughout the season. You've seen this at times. It's not every week, but at times this has happened, and this is something that hopefully Steichen and the offense is asking Watkins to work on and improve at, because you don't want to just take a guy out because, you know, he's struggling a little bit in that area,
right?
But you know, at times, like in the game, in the moment, maybe you want to make that adjustment.
This is also where I want to see a veteran player grab a guy. You know, like you talked about Darius Slay being unhappy with Josiah Scott after the game, right? Well, I hope that Slay takes Scott aside, like, you know, on the plane ride home or at the facility today or tomorrow, and just kind of sits him down. He's like, look, man, I was really upset with you after the game. I want to help you get better, so we don't have that situation happen again. And the same thing with Quez Watkins, like whether it's Zach Pascal or AJ Brown or even Greg Ward, for goodness sake. I mean, just somebody to talk to Quez and be like, or maybe all three of them. I don't care. Like,
doesn't matter.
Gang up,
even a coaching staff.
You know,
anyone.
But I mean, like sometimes you want players to do
right,
it, because this is where veteran leadership has to step up. Like I always ask the question when it comes like the Sixers, for example, when the Sixers weren't playing bad earlier this year, who was the guy in the locker room telling Doc and the coaches to get the bleep out and turn around and say, listen, you bleeps, you know, we got to play better. We're playing like garbage, you know? And it's like, who was supposed to be that guy? I didn't know that guy really existed on the Sixers.
I don't think it did.
You know, and so for football, I think it's even more important sometimes. Like 2017, Malcolm Jenkins was the commander-in-chief of that locker room. And him and Brandon Graham and Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, they ran that locker room. They didn't let anything slide. And that's a big reason why that team won a championship, because of the culture of that locker room. And when I see the Eagles do things sometimes, I ask the question, who's the veteran taking these guys aside and saying, we need more from you? Not the coaches, us players do.
I think that guy's still Jason Kelce. I 100% think it's still Jason Kelce overall as a team leader. I mean, Jason Kelce, clearly, no doubt, the team leader of the Philadelphia Eagles still. And I think with the culture, I mean, you don't win 13 games without a great culture. And I think the Eagles this year do have a great culture. And I think there are guys like a Darius Slay. He was named team captain. Jason Kelce. I think those guys are going to talk to the young players at times. So, yeah, I think it does happen.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash Show on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Still to come, more of your texts. It says 609-403-0973. But coming up next, Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City, his thoughts on the Eagles, the NFC East, and the aftermath of the Sixers-Knicks game on Christmas Day. All that coming up next here on Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN.
The excitement of a big play.
He is going deep, and it is intercepted.
And all the drama of sports.
Spotted, kick, up, and it is good!
All in one place. 97.3 ESPN.
When you hear the word concussion, most people think about the risks facing professional athletes, but parents of student athletes are just as concerned. The good news is that the Concussion Center at Cape Regional is here to help. Our 7 nationally certified concussion specialists use the latest diagnostic tools, and our customized rehabilitation programs help student athletes get back in the game. To learn more or to schedule an evaluation, call 609-463-CAPE or visit us at caperegional.com. Cape Regional Health System, for a healthier life.
O'Reilly. See the road ahead more clearly with Sylvania Bulbs and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, purchase select Sylvania bulbs and get up to a $20 gift card after mail-in rebate, plus 2 times O-Rewards points. Replace your bulbs today and see better tonight. Let the professional parts people help you find the bulbs you need. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
See the red tag. Save a lot of green at the Bridgeton Chevrolet Buick GMC Red Tag event. Get $500 red tag bonus cash on select new models. Plus, make no payments for 90 days. Lease a new 2022 Chevrolet Colorado Crew Cab. $299 a month for 36 months. Plus, get the BAM Advantage. 2 years of scheduled no-cost maintenance. Save now at Bridgeton Chevrolet Buick GMC. Better get to Bridgeton. Find new roads. Payment deferment excludes leases. $2,500 down on all vehicle offers. See dealer for details.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
I know a lot of you really want the State Farm personal price plan, but what's with the oversharing? Like this message Brian left me.
Hey, Jake from State Farm. I love the smell of my cat's breath. Yeah.
You don't need to get that personal. The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing a wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet Jet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Matt Platt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot. Get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan. The all-new Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online, mattplattnissan.com.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
2:45 here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We are just after the holiday. And for some of you, you are still patching up the wounds, whether it's because you saw the Giants and Eagles lose over the weekend, or because, maybe you just partied a little too hard for the holiday weekend. Whatever your reason is, we're here for you on a Monday afternoon. We'll get back to the text in just a bit, 609-403-0973, and your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app. It's free, thanks to First Bank of Seattle. But right now, we are being joined, as we are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, by Mike McGarry from the press of Atlantic City here on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, how was your Christmas weekend?
It was excellent. It was probably a lot better than Eagles fans' Christmas weekend because they've got all of a sudden a lot to be nervous about for a team that's 13-2.
Mike, I asked the question to Nick earlier in the audience. So I want to ask it to you here. What right now is more concerning for the Eagles? Is it Lane Johnson missing the rest of the regular season and maybe returning for the postseason? Or is it Avonte Maddox going down again, out indefinitely, and Eagles fans watching Josiah Scott get sliced and diced on Christmas Eve?
Tough choice between the two, but I'm going to go Lane Johnson there. I think he's the best at his position in football. The strength of the Eagles is that offensive line. I know they have some depth, but to take a player like Lane Johnson out of the equation, kind of sort of messes with the mojo that makes the Eagles on that offensive line. So I'll go with Lane Johnson. But that's it. It's the injuries mounting at the wrong time. The quarterback goes down, right tackle goes down, Maddox goes down. A lot to worry about when these things happen at the wrong time.
Hey, Mike, it's Nick here. Question on the offensive line with Lane Johnson going out. What would you do? Would you move Mailata to the right side or keep him at the left tackle, get Dillard in there, or would you bring in Jack Driscoll as just the right tackle? What would be your thinking on that?
I would bring in Driscoll. Why mess with Mailata? He's been so successful there. If you move Mailata, you're almost like weakening. You're messing with two spots on the line, right? The right tackle and the left tackle spot. So keep him where he is, where he's been so successful, and put Driscoll in at the right tackle. Fix one problem, not let that problem drift over to another position on the line. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't move Mailata at this point in the season.
Mike, we saw in the game on Christmas Eve that Minshew threw 2 interceptions. The Eagles had 4 turnovers altogether. How much of that loss do you think was the turnovers? How much of that was actually the Cowboys? Because it kind of feels like a chicken and the egg argument.
Yeah, the Cowboys played well. How much of it was the 3rd and 30 play, right? If they don't hit that pass,
right,
it's probably a different story also. So, you commit 4 turnovers in an NFL game, you're going to have a tough time winning the football game. And I honestly think that a couple of those turnovers don't happen if Jalen Hurts is the quarterback. Now, having said that, I thought Minshew played pretty well, but he's still a backup. It was still his first game of the season. And I think the Cowboys definitely have some, offensive talent. The Eagles couldn't cover CeeDee Lamb in the middle of the field. Dak Prescott got hot after a while, so the Cowboys have some talent. But I think you're right. It is a chicken or the egg thing. But 4 turnovers is tough to overcome. And also, if that 3rd and 30 doesn't go, I think it's a different game also.
Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City joining us here on the Sports Bash Show on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, whose loss in the NFC East of the not the Eagles, NFC East is more concerning? Is it the Giants to the Vikings or Washington to San Francisco?
I think it's got to be Washington to San Francisco just because of where it puts them. Right now, they're 7-7-1. I think they've got Cleveland this week, Dallas the week after. So they're kind of and a host of teams at 7-8 kind of chasing them, right? The Giants, lose at Minnesota, 61-yard field goal. They're still 8-6-1. Indianapolis and the Eagles, they probably get in with one more win. I just think the way where the losses put the teams, I would choose Washington because Washington is kind of fading from that playoff scene right now, where the Giants are still in control of their own destiny.
Mike, if you would have told me that the Vikings would be 11-0 in one-score games, I would have told you were nuts. I mean, it's the most ridiculous stat I've ever seen this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings are setting up to be that team, right? That to me, they're that high seed team, going to be a slight favorite on the opening weekend of the playoffs, and all of a sudden they get upset at home, and we kind of all know it's coming, and we all get sucked in anyway. So, I mean, eventually the law of averages is going to bounce the other way, and you're not going to make the 61-yard field goal. But any team with Justin Jefferson, I mean, that was the difference in the game on Saturday between the Giants and the Vikings. The Vikings had Jefferson. They literally threw the ball in the air to him, somewhere near him, and he made a couple of big catches. The Giants didn't have that guy, and that's why the Giants lost and the Vikings won.
Hey, Mike. So I want to transition to basketball in the 76ers a little bit. I saw your tweet about the Adrian Wojnarowski report about James Harden on Christmas Day. Now, in that report, it mentioned about Harden, Embiid, and Doc Rivers' relationship, and it was quoted saying it's a work in progress. What do you make of that report coming out on Christmas?
Yeah, I think a couple things there. I think, first of all, it's Christmas. It's the NBA's big day. So I'm sure it is true, but we needed some sort of Woj bomb that day, right? There had to be some sort of news made that day because it's Christmas Day, NBA's big day. So I'm sure it's true, but I think the Sixers were like the Woj bomb of the day. The other thing I think about is why can't the Sixers I'll ask you guys, why can't the Sixers just win? They won 8 or 9 in a row. They're playing well. Why can't they win and be happy? It's always drama around this team, and a lot of time it's self-created, either from Embiid, Harden, or Doc Rivers. Why can't they just go win 8, 9 in a row and everybody be happy? They can't be happy, the 76ers.
I'll tell you why they can't be happy, because you have a culture that has been instilled in them of discontentment for about 8 years now. You've gone through multiple GMs. You've gone through multiple head coaches. You change the roster over wholesale almost every year. It's how it's like a job, Mike. If the boss of your boss is miserable, he passes it down to his boss and they pass it down to you. Well, to me, the reason why there's Sixers drama is because the organization breeds it.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a seemingly a karma problem. They're playing really well. They played really well in Madison Square Garden. Harden's playing well. Embiid's playing great. The pieces are fitting together. And all of a sudden, you're watching TV at 11:45 in the morning. Boom, Harden supposedly wants to go back to Houston. I mean, it's ridiculous. They can't be happy. They're like the friend of yours who has to be miserable, who likes to drown in his own sorrows, basically. Those are your Philadelphia 76ers.
Embiid was saying after the game, Mike, that, he thinks he should be playing every Christmas. I mean, I got to think that doesn't the NBA want this on Christmas? Don't they want the extra eyeballs and the drama and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I guess it's entertaining to people, that are non-Philadelphia 76er fans. Embiid's one of the top players in the league. He should be a Christmas Day staple. But I just think the Sixers are playing well. They just can't get out of their own way. They're a good story. Now they've won, 8, 9 in a row. They kind of reestablished themselves. Just when you're beginning to get thoughts of, hey, could they challenge Milwaukee or Boston? You hear this James Harden report. It's like, again, it's like the friend you have that can't be happy, that just walks around with a black cloud over his head.
Mike, real quick before we let you go, who and what happens first? The Eagles lock up the number 1 seed, or the Sixers lose a game?
I'm going to say I'm going to say the Sixers lose a game, basically. I think they could get caught in Washington coming up tomorrow, basically. So, but I do think the Eagles find a way to win on Sunday and lock up that number 1 seed. So I think the Eagles are going to lose before Sunday. Sixers lose before Sunday. Eagles win on Sunday and lock up that number 1 seed and at least give Philadelphia sports fans a reason to take a deep breath.
Follow him on Twitter at AC Press McGarry. Check out all of his coverage over at PressOfAtlanticCity.com. It will be back on Wednesday for another edition here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Mike, hope you enjoyed the Christmas and your day, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Anytime. Thank you.
Josh Hennig and Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Still to come, Scott Grayson from Fox 29 News and also 97.3 ESPN Eagles writer will get his Grayson's grades for the Eagles weekend, plus the latest on the Eagles and Lane Johnson, Avonte Maddox with Geoff Mosher and football at 4. Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, Casey Joyner will review one thought on every game at 5 and at 5:30. He is the host of Good Morning NFC East and CBS Sports NFL writer Jeff Kerr. So to come, and your text 609-403-0973. Your DM is in 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Week 16 takes us to Indianapolis for the Colts and the Chargers. Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers at 8-6 are in the thick of the AFC wildcard race. Can their high-flying offense keep it going for a third straight win? Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner to find out on Monday Night Football.
Listen to Monday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in Glassboro, offering you huge discounts. Now you can get a great deal on a brand new Mitsubishi. Visit Matt Blatt Mitsubishi online at mattblatt.com. That's mattblatt.com.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
Pro. Progressive Fence and Rail. Fencing, railing, shower enclosures for home builders and homeowners. Customized just for you. Awnings and decks, yeah, we do those too. Yeah. We get it done right. We get it done fast. With quality products built to last. If you need help around the outside of your home, the only name you need to know is Pro. ProgressiveFenceandRail.com.
Gift the best with the best steaks of your life from Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher since 1917. Perfectly aged, tender, unforgettable, and guaranteed delicious. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together an assortment of various packages to make shopping for the ones you love nice and easy. Go to omahasteaks.com and use code TREAT at checkout to get an additional $30 off your order. Send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away. Head to omahasteaks.com and use promo code TREAT at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that'll be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Use promo code TREAT at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%, and every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Our seasonal menu items always put me in the holiday spirit. Enjoy our bomb pork belly tacos or share a plate of South Philly style crab fries with one of our specialty cocktails. Plus, get Chickies and Pete's gift cards for everyone on your holiday list. Chickies and Pete's.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
It's good!
and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. We got some updates for you. Well, we can call them updates.
I guess they're updates, right?
They're kind of updates. So for those who didn't see the news earlier today, over on 97.3 ESPN.com or 97.3 ESPN mobile app, Lane Johnson will miss the rest of the regular season with what Adam Schefter is calling a torn tendon in his abdominal area. Now, I will preface this by saying that I am not a doctor, and I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But I can tell you as a former personal trainer and a still certified nutritionist that my knowledge of human anatomy is this. This is almost like the hockey injury thing, upper body, lower body.
Right.
The abdominal region literally goes from the bottom of your sternum to your groin. Like, that's how long of an area we're talking about. So, like, literally, it could be anywhere in there that Lane hurt. So, let's keep that in mind. I'll try to assume too much, all right? Also, he was on the injury report for how many weeks with abdominal and no other explanation?
Yeah.
So, that could be anything. The Avonte Maddox thing is a little more ambiguous because the report was he's out indefinitely with a toe injury. Now, remember, I will put this for context. Trevor Lawrence has been on the injury report for weeks for Jacksonville with the toe issue, and he's been able to play. So toe injury, I don't know what that means either. So you have two guys with two injuries who are very important to this team who have injuries that are ambiguous to say the least.
Yeah, going with Avonte Maddox, I feel like he'll be back quicker with a toe injury than an abdominal tear or whatever they're calling it with Lane Johnson. But yeah, I mean, these are two big losses, and this happens in the NFL every single year. You get to this point in the season, you're going to see a few more injuries. Guys are getting banged up.
Attrition.
It's been a long season. They're going to be banged up, and like you mentioned, we've seen Lane Johnson on the injury report past couple of weeks for a while, and it just got a little worse in the game. His injury is a little more important now than it was previously. He was able to play through it, and now it's gotten to the point where he can't play through. He's going to miss some time. And Nick Sirianni kind of mentioned that a little bit today.
This is Nick Sirianni just a couple minutes ago, giving I guess you can call an update to the media about the three main guys that we have all been talking about so far today: Lane Johnson, Avonte Maddox, and Jalen Hurts.
Obviously, Lane and Avonte were injured in the game. Avonte didn't come back in, neither did Lane. Still evaluating through everything. We probably think they'll miss a little bit of time, but we'll never put a timetable on anybody. And so, just it's early on in the process here too with these guys. So want to get some more information back, but kind of looking that way. But we'll see, and we'll see how the severity and how long it will be. As far as Jalen goes, it will be we'll see one day at a time here. He how much he wanted to play the other last week. And how much he did to get his body ready. And again, with Jalen, it's just his body heals different than yours and mine, Josh, right? He's going to do everything that he can do to get himself healthy. And if he's healthy, he'll play.
So nice of Nick Sirianni dropped my name in there.
Yeah, name drop in there for you, Josh. What are you doing? 2 jobs at once, huh?
Apparently, I'm in multiple places at once. I did not know
that. You got a clone or something.
Apparently, I do. I did not know. But back to what Sirianni was saying, he didn't give you a lot there. But I thought that if you read between what he was saying, Nick, I mean, people like you and I, we work as producers, we cut audio. So a lot of times we're trying to sift through the dirt and the mud to find the diamonds.
The stuff.
Right?
It's just the stuff.
And I feel like Sirianni there told you something without telling you something. He told you that he expects these guys to miss multiple days, he called it. A lot of times, if you have a guy missing multiple days, he's going to at least miss a game or two. So reading between Sirianni, is it fair to say right now, Nick, as we sit here on December 26th, that it's most likely we don't see Lane or Avonte the rest of the regular season?
I think it's fair to say that. You're not going to see Lane Johnson. He's too important to this team in a playoff run. So you want to get him back as healthy as possible. Especially with something that's an upper body injury, abdominal tear at this point. So, listen, for Lane Johnson and Avonte Maddox, I would sit them the last 2 games. No reason to have them out there to worsen any injury at this point. They're 2 very important players to this team. I mean, we know how thin they are in the secondary, at the safety position, at the corner position. And you're still waiting to get CJ Gardner-Johnson back as well. He comes off IR. He's eligible at least to come off IR this week, according to Ian Rappaport. That came out during the Avonte Maddox news. So listen, for the Eagles, it's so important to have these players ready to go in the playoffs. And, when you're at this point in the season, like we've kind of harped on, I mean, the injuries happen and, they have to be ready for it. And that's why it's important to get this game, get a win in this game coming up against the Saints, because you don't want to have these other guys out there risking more injury. That is good. It's so important to get these guys rest at this point in the season, especially since we've added now another game to the year, week 18. So 17 total regular season games. You want to get these guys healthy. You want them to have a little bit of rest heading into the playoffs. That's why you don't want to wait to the Giants game to win. You don't want to have your starters go out there another week to risk injury. And you got to win this week against the Saints so those guys can get healthy and hopefully be ready to go for the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's why I said earlier in the first hour, and I'll bring it up again here, Nick. For those just tuning in now at 3:00 to listen to the first hour of the show, I'll tell you guys the same thing I said earlier. To me, the pressure's on the Eagles now. You got to win at all costs. I don't care what game plan you got to come up with. I don't care if you're running a wildcat offense. I don't care if you run a 52 front instead of a 34 front on defense. I don't care if you blitz or don't blitz. Whatever the key is to beat the Saints, you got to do it because you need the bye week. At this point, you need to turn that final game of the year into a dress rehearsal. And we talked about this a little bit in the first hour as well. What do you do with Hurts? To me, I don't play him at all again this week.
I agree.
To me, I stick with what I've been saying now since last week. And I've been slowly bringing people to my side of the argument. People started last week saying Hurts, we need Hurts to play versus the Cowboys, blah, blah. I'm like, no. I don't want to see Hurts till the Giants game. I want to see a dress rehearsal game where Hurts and the offense plays together for whatever the number of snaps you're comfortable with. Okay. These coaches and their analytics, they got guys who spend, all day long analyzing what the best thing to do is. Whatever that number is it 10 snaps? Is it 2 drives, 1 quarter, whatever it is? I feel like they need a dress rehearsal. Then yank him out of the game, treat it like a preseason game. Then you have the bye week, then the postseason. Because then you're not dealing with ring rust. Because I still believe there might be some legitimacy to Minshew having some ring rust in that game. He's not a turnover-prone guy. He's not a gunslinger by nature. If you watched him at Washington State, he was a timing and precision guy at Washington State with Mike Leach. And in the NFL, he's not a guy prone to a lot of interceptions. And I believe that if he would have had more reps in practice that week, it's not his fault that his coach passed away. It's not his fault the game was on Saturday instead of Sunday. And that's why I only had 1 practice. So I have to think that give these guys more time to rest. Go in, pull out the dog masks, be the underdogs, go in there with that attitude and try to just win the game on Sunday so that the Giants game turns into a dress rehearsal, because guess what? The Giants are playing for something that week. You might not be. You don't want to be playing for something and then be playing for something. You'd rather it just be, hey, boys, we're going in there to get reps, and the Giants know it. The Giants are not going to try to kill us because they got to win because then the Giants' concern is be more about the game than anything else.
Yeah, and heading into that Giants game, I mean, you want Minshew to start this week against the Saints. That is key. You want to get the win this week with Minshew. Get the starters as much rest as you can. That is the ultimate goal here. But when it comes to Jalen Hurts, I would not play him this weekend. No way. I think you can win easily with Gardner Minshew. And you're right, Gardner Minshew, not a guy that was going to throw a ton of interceptions. Did have a little bit of a fumble problem in Jacksonville. That was a little bit of a problem. But I think Minshew, at this point in his career, where he's at, I mean, we've seen him step in and do a pretty good job. Last week against Dallas, I thought he wasn't terrible. He was fine. He was okay. They could have still won the game. And last season, he stepped in, got a victory when Jalen went down as well. So for the Eagles this week, it's about clinching the number 1 seed against the Saints, because heading in that Giants game, you're right, Josh. You're totally spot on. You don't want to be playing for something against the Giants. That is in no way, shape, or form what you want to be doing. And credit to the Eagles, they put themselves in a position to kind of give themselves a little bit of leeway, but you don't want to wait till the last minute. You don't want to procrastinate clinching this number 1 seed. So, yeah, going back to Hurts, I think you have to play him a little bit in that Giant game, no matter what. Now, if it comes down to they have to win to clinch the 1 seed, I think Hurts has to play the whole game. I think Hurts has to start. You got to find a way, hopefully.
That's why you have to win the Saints game.
Exactly. That's why
you
it's
don't
so
want the Giants game to matter.
Exactly.
You have to go. And listen, if I can spin this to the other side of this, because you and I talked about this before the show. For those who didn't hear the news, the Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett. All right?
About time.
So now you have Denver, Indianapolis, and Carolina all with job openings. We anticipate Arizona will have a job opening. And every year there's another job that nobody sees coming at the job. Like, for example, the Chargers will make the postseason. Maybe Brandon Staley gets fired, for example, right? Or, who knows what's going on in Houston, for goodness sake. With that, I mean, they're firing people left and right.
Tell you what, Steve Wilkes might keep his job in Carolina.
He very well might. That's a very possibility as well. I mean, I have to throw it out there for argument's sake. I mean, does Kevin Stefanski survive this year in Cleveland?
It's true.
There's all kinds of jobs that may be open. I bring this up because every person I've talked to on and off the record, Nick, and you know how it works for us in this business. When you're people like us who are on and off the air, we intermingle with a lot of random people at times.
Yes.
And I have heard on and off the record from multiple people that Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon are going to be hot candidates in this coaching cycle. And I have to believe that these guys want to get the win on Sunday to show potential people, hey, I can get through adversity. I can help a team. I was part of the Eagles surviving adversity in this season. Go watch the Saints game.
the little bit of adversity. I mean, they've won 13 games. We have to remember that. That's a pretty good resume at this point in the season. And, I think as Philadelphia is, and as sports fans, you kind of drum up a little bit more adversity than there actually is at times. So yeah, I do see your point where you're coming from, but I think their resumes are pretty solid right now. Now, if they can get beyond the divisional round, beyond the conference championship, then you really have something to put on your resume. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a dress rehearsal. Say, hey, we overcame something. We didn't have Jalen Hurts. We were losing guys on the offensive line, defensive side as well. Important key players to our team. How did we adjust? What adjustments did we make? And that's what some of these coaches are going to have to prove, because they're going to get interviews. Jonathan Gannon is going to get interviewed. He got interviewed last season for head coaching positions.
He got interviewed in Denver.
Yeah, and Houston as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So these guys are going to get opportunities, I believe, this offseason. No doubt in my mind. So at this point in the year, what are they going to do to find a way to make this season even easier for the Eagles and win against the Saints? The Saints are not a good football team. For some reason, they're in the worst division in football. Somehow they still have a chance to make the playoffs. Okay, great. They're still playing for something. So they're going to come out with everything they got. They don't have much, but they're still going to come out, and it's still any given Sunday. So listen, if they can wrap it up this week, let's say the Eagles, we'll throw it out there hypothetically, the Eagles win this weekend. They win with Minshew. They go into that Giant game. That Giant game, I don't want Jalen Hurts sitting for an entire month, get the bye as well into the playoffs, and still not be playing any football until that first divisional game. I think you got to put him out there for at least a quarter and a half, maybe the full first half. He's got to have some reps in that football game. The Giants are still going to be playing for something. You want to do everything you can to protect him, but he can't just go out there in the divisional game for his second career playoff game coming off a month's rest. That just can't happen. And I don't think Jalen Hurts will let it happen the way how much of a competitor he is.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank. And see how the Sports Bash is being brought to you by Boardwalk Honda in Egg Harbor Township. Shop their entire inventory anytime online at boardwalkhonda.com. From Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal. We'll get you more about what Nick Sirianni is saying about different things. Sirianni has said that they still have an answer about C.J. Gardner-Johnson at this point in time. He's still being evaluated. Sirianni has also said that he was texting Gardner Minshew all of Christmas Day.
How about that?
With corrections and highlights. Let me ask you guys out there, if your boss was texting you all day Christmas, how would you feel? Would you be like, wow, my boss is really invested in me? Or you'd be like, bro, it's Christmas. Leave me alone.
I don't look at my phone a ton on Christmas or holidays. So I send out the Merry Christmas texts during the day and I'm good.
Right.
I'm not looking at my phone.
Text board is open, 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Still to come on the other side. Scott Grayson, 973 ESPN.com Eagles writer and Fox 29 sports anchor. We'll get his perspective on what Nick Sirianni has said. The Eagles in the aftermath of the Cowboys as we start looking ahead to the Saints game here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw, affiliate for Mike Gill on a Monday on the Bash.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com. Powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in Glassboro, offering you huge discounts. Now you can get a great deal on a brand new Mitsubishi. Online at mattblatt.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
This is Staples.
So rumor has it that Staples has everything I need to ship.
We have all the shipping supplies and services you need.
Boxes?
Yep.
Mailers?
Yeah, and we have UPS here in store.
Huh. What will Staples think of next?
Right?
No, seriously, I'm asking, what will they think of next?
Staples is your one-stop shipping destination. Now get 50% off shipping boxes, mailers, or tubes when you buy 5 of the same item in-store or online with 1-hour pickup. Staples, the best-kept secret in shipping. Ends 12/31. Exclusions apply. Visit staplesconnect.com/shipping for details.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. This holiday season, the Feast of the Seven Fishes has never been easier than with the help of Chickies and Pete's to-go catering. All your favorites, riverboat clams, mussels, lobster tails, calamari, and more. Same-day pickup available on all orders placed before 4 p.m. Treat your family to an amazing Feast of the Seven Fishes without the stress, hassle, and time to put all that together. From our table to yours, Chickies and Pete's. Ho, ho.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water, pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Norman, before we start the surgery, I have some bad news.
What is it, doctor?
Well, I never graduated from med school, but the good news is it's the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale. Now hurry, because new Xfinity customers can get 400 megabit internet for just $30 a month for 2 years with no annual contract when they add Xfinity Mobile. And this will get your heart rate up. For a limited time, you'll get $500 back when you add a second mobile line.
I gotta get this deal.
Plus, get the best price when you get unlimited data on both lines.
That's amazing, Doc.
I know. I don't want to miss this deal. Let's reschedule.
Doc?
Drop everything and get to the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale now through January 10th. Go to Xfinity.com/Hello 2023. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Internet offer requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After term, regular rates apply. Xfinity Internet required for Xfinity Mobile. Compares Xfinity Unlimited Intro to lowest price 5G plans of top 3 carriers. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage per line. Data thresholds may vary.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hey, football fans! It's time to start your game-winning drive at BMW of Atlantic City. Get 3.99% APR financing for up to 36 months on 2018 to 2020 certified pre-owned vehicles. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your current vehicle. Score your game-changing savings at BMW of Atlantic City. Closer than you think. Visit us in Egg Harbor Township or online at bmwatlanticcity.com. For more details, call us toll-free at 609-316-2393.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN being brought to you by the Gallery Bar Booking Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit oceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ryan Rothstein will be back at Ocean this Wednesday, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash. No Monday this week or next week with Ocean. We'll be back on the Monday schedule the week after, because next Monday we have bowl games all day long here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Eagles lose to the Cowboys. Eagles lose Lane Johnson for what looks like the rest of the regular season. Avonte Maddox, we don't know. CJ Gardner-Johnson, we don't know. You're supposed to be happy after the Christmas holiday, Nick, but instead we have a lot of uncertainty. So we'll get into all of that right now with Scott Grayson, Fox 29 News sports anchor, and he does Grayson's Grades at 973 ESPN.com. Scott, Merry Christmas. Welcome in. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good. So obviously Nick Sirianni basically confirmed what everybody knows, which is basically Lane, Avonte Maddox, CJ Gardner-Johnson, they're all TFN at this point, TBD or whatever adjective you want to use.
Yeah, you can throw Jalen Hurts into that mix as well as far as whether or not he'll play Saturday. If you thought that Sirianni was going to give you guys, if anybody thought that he was going to throw out some timetables for anybody, that would be the first time, because he just on these Mondays does not go into detail. And so I think I'm not surprised by anything he said. I think the reports we've been getting throughout the day are accurate. I think that you will not see Lane Johnson in the regular season. You will not see Avonte Maddox in the regular season. Whether or not you'll see Jalen Hurts on Sunday, I would put that chance pretty high. They cannot afford to lose this game and go into the last week against the Giants with what amounts to a must-win game. So I think they're going to throw everything they have at the Saints, knowing they need to win this game today. Because, look, let's be honest, and I tweeted this out earlier today. Up until even a week ago, I would have said that getting the bye in the postseason is a luxury. It's getting that week off, just having that opportunity not to play a game in the playoffs in that wild card round, sit back, watch the other guys beat each other up. But now it went from being a luxury to being a necessity. I think they really need that week off for a guy like Lane Johnson. If they don't get that first round bye, I don't know that Lane is able to play wild card weekend. Avonte Maddox potentially being in the same boat. So this is a necessity to get that number one seed right now. If your dreams are to get to Glendale and play for that Super Bowl title.
I was saying, Scott, before you came on, the pressure's on the Eagles now to get that win, because look, the Cowboys game, you could have won if it wasn't for the turnovers, right? At some point, it just felt like the turnovers just got to be too much. So you have to clean things up, and you got to do whatever it takes, because you don't want that Giants game, and Nick and I have been talking about this, you don't want that Giants game to mean anything at this point.
Yeah, I completely agree, because if the Giants come into that game, look, they're already going to be, let's face it, I mean, the odds are in their favor to be in the postseason as well. So they're going to be faced with the decision of whether or not they play some starters. But you just don't want to go into that week with that stress, that extra amount of concern. So to me, and let's face it, if the Giants had the chance to spoil the Eagles' opportunity to be that number one seed, they would love to jump on that. For me, I think that you've got to go at the Saints this week, like I said, and just avoid that. Give your guys, your starters who really need the rest next week to sit, as well as the week after that. We're getting into that point where I think this is just, like I said, I think you can't put enough emphasis on the fact that this team needs that bye to be in its best shape to go down that final stretch of winning 2 playoff games and getting to Glendale. So to me, it's this week or nothing. I mean, they've got to beat the Saints. I think you got to throw Jalen Hurts out there as long as he can play. And for me, he doesn't even have to be 100%. Look, Gardner Minshew, he did some good things, okay? But one thing I saw that was different from with Jalen, and we were not saying these things at the beginning of the season, when I was watching Minshew's passes, I took away more of an appreciation for the accuracy that Jalen Hurts has shown throughout the season, because some of Minshew's passes were 50-50 balls, and that's what happened with the Quez Watkins interception. You got to put that ball right on the money, and you give that defense a chance to take it away, they will.
Hey, Scott, I have a question about Avonte Maddox, because you lose him, you've lost him during the season already. You have the possibility of getting Gardner-Johnson back. How would you mix and match the secondary if you do get Gardner-Johnson back without Maddox in the lineup?
Yeah, there's already talk about whether CJ Gardner-Johnson will move into the nickel spot. Look, I think one thing we can appreciate is his versatility. He never played safety before coming into this season, and look at what he's done. He was leading the league in interceptions when he went out. So you've got that side of it, as well as you've got guys like Blankenship playing pretty well on that back end, Epps as well in his absence. So you have to ask yourself, and this comes down to the old question of whether or not, and I know Nick was asked this in his press conference shortly, just a short time ago, do you move one piece to fill a hole, which creates another gap? And so you're essentially involving two pieces that have moved. In this case with Gardner Johnson, I think it's a matter of whether or not he feels like he understands his defense enough to play that role. I think this lies with him because he's been out of the mix. It's not really so much moving a piece now, because guys have been established into his absence in that spot. Would they move aside and he go right back to being the starting safety if Maddox were there? Absolutely. But I think in this position, I think you start looking at, and there's conversations behind the scenes with Gardner Johnson. Can you go out and play nickel? Do you want the opportunity to go out and play nickel? I think that's probably the best thing for this team would be for him to go there. And then you start looking at it when there's need for a nickel and you've got three receivers to cover. You got Slay, Gardner Johnson, and Bradbury out there at that level of the defense. I mean, you won't see me complain if that's what they decide to do. And I think what better way to find out if it works than against the Saints on Sunday.
Scott Grayson joining us here on the Sports Bash Show on 97.3 ESPN at S Grayson Fox 29 on Twitter. Sticking on the defensive side, Scott, looking back at the Cowboys game, are we looking at it from concern, seeing Josiah Scott being sliced and diced in the slot as many times as he was? Or are we saying the Cowboys were getting opportunities because the Eagles were turning the ball over? Was Gannon not making adjustments enough? It really felt like there were a lot of times in that game where you were thinking the Eagles were going to make adjustments and they didn't.
How many times have we said that about Gannon, right? I mean, we kind of go through that and bang our heads against the wall. And every time you start complaining about the guy, they come out and they end up, shutting an opponent down, and you come back and you start giving him some praise. And now here we are back full circle again saying what was going on. To me, the biggest storyline in that game was the 4 turnovers. And I know the Cowboys want to pound their chests and talk about how they beat. Fine, you beat the Eagles' backup quarterback. You had 4 turnovers, including one at a key moment in the game when they could have still taken the victory with all those turnovers in the fourth quarter. So my takeaway from it was the Cowboys' offense was generated a lot by the turnovers. I think they took a lot of momentum from that, playing in their home stadium. Don't forget that, with the crowd all juiced up on Christmas Eve. I think there's a lot there that I'm crumbling up, right, throwing it in the trash can, because if and when they play again in the playoffs, you're going to have Jalen Hurts. You're going to have a different looking team out there, and I think that's going to play a big difference. You're going to also likely have to play that game at the Link. So to me, I'm crumbling up that game and throwing it away. I am a little concerned with the way they were able to slice and dice the secondary, but I also wonder how much Gannon might have put into a vault, so to speak, and say, we are not doing these plays, whatever they might be, today, because we know we may have to play these guys again. And we think we can beat them with the other stuff, right? So let's just leave this stuff aside, because if we play them again in the playoffs, we want to know we have that in our back pocket. I think there was some of that potentially too.
If they have something in their back pocket, though, what is it? Like, I mean, the fan out there listening to us right now, Scott, whether in their car, wherever they're at work, the person is saying is like, it sounds great that they have something in their back pocket, or they didn't bring something out there. But the regular fan is going to look at the game and say, but isn't your job to win the game? Like, what are you holding back that's so important for the playoffs?
Well, and my counter to that is, number one, they played a lot of zone, right? We saw that. There was a lot of zone in that game. How much variations did they play off that zone? I don't think there was a whole lot. So I think they kept things somewhat simple on the back end back there. So there's a lot you can do differently if you play them again, particularly with a CD Lamb. Maybe get more physical with a guy like that, that you didn't do in the first game. So I think that when you say what can they do differently, that's some of what I'd say they do differently. Now to your question of, well, they did want to win the game, of course. But I think they thought they could win it without all that. He doesn't blitz, right? We know that Gannon does not blitz very much. So he wants to get that pressure with those front 4. Well, I think he kept thinking that they were going to be able to get that. And they were getting there. They were getting some sacks, but I think they were a little loose in coverage. I think they were like I said, if it's me and you look at the last 2 weeks of the regular season, where these teams are, where are the Eagles likely going to be slotted? The number 1 seed. Where are the Cowboys going to go as a result? The 5. That means they're going to play the winner of the South, likely the Buccaneers. The Cowboys are likely going to win that game, which means if the 6 and 7 seed don't win, you are playing the Cowboys here in the second round of the playoffs. So I think these coaches are looking at that, and they're not idiots, and they're saying we need to have something here. Because, look, they haven't shown Dak Prescott, right? The first game was against Cooper Rush. So you beat Cooper Rush. Well, you haven't shown Dak. Dak wasn't out there playing in any of those situations or seeing some of that stuff at the time, and things change over a while. I'm just saying, I don't know if they did it or not. I'm saying it looked like Dak was able to complete some passes rather easily, and I don't think there was much being done in terms of adjustments. And if your theory is, Gannon, that you don't want to change anything because you don't want to adjust and show them what you're going to do in a similar situation in the playoffs, then I think that's something that everybody needs to sit back and really consider went on.
Scott, looking ahead to say, hypothetically, the Eagles and Cowboys make it to the playoffs in the divisional round and play each other. I had a little bit of concern. The Eagles had over 100 rush yards in the first meeting this year. This meeting, only 87 yards on the ground against an okay, not great Cowboys run defense. What do you make of the adjustments that the Cowboys made in this game going forward into the playoffs?
Well, I think a lot of that had to do with Gardner Minshew. The threat that he has with his feet is not what Jalen Hurts has. The Cowboys were hurting at linebacker. I frankly expected them to try to run even a little bit more. I think some of the way the game went with the turnovers and the Cowboys scoring off of some of those turnovers, I wouldn't be surprised if it took the Eagles away from that a little bit. But as far as the Cowboys go, they could play differently, right? They didn't have to worry about whether or not they're putting a spy out there. They weren't that worried about Gardner Minshew running the ball. I think if and when they meet in the playoffs, you're going to see a different style of defense because they're going to have to account for Jalen Hurts and his mobility. That being said, they did make the plays. They did get the turnovers, and credit to them for doing it. I think the Eagles left some things out there. They certainly left some points on the board. And to me, like I said, I think that's the kind of game you just really need to crumble up, throw away, and get focused on just locking up that 1 seed right now. Like right now, there's got to be a couple of goals short term in front of the Eagles, and it's number 1. In the same game, win the division, get the 1 seed, and get rest for your starters so that you can, for the ones that you can rest in the last game against the Giants, so that you're going into these playoffs as healthy as possible. I'm not too worried about, like you, I expected there to be maybe some more running. I expected Miles Sanders to get more of a workload first and foremost. But there were reasons why some of those turnovers happened. The one exchange from Minshew to Boston Scott, I mean, that's got to come down to just how many times have they repped that in practice, whereas Hurts and him have probably done it 10 times more. So there's things that are going to happen when you have a backup in.
Scott, we heard Nick Sirianni at the press conference today talk about how he was texting Minshew all day Christmas Day, which, first of all, if anybody's boss is texting them throughout Christmas Day, that would be very weird. But I digress. Minshew is not an interception guy, though. He does not have a long history of being a turnover-prone quarterback. So how much of what you think happened on Saturday was maybe, as we call it in the fight game, ring rust? The idea that he had one practice all week. It was a quick turnaround in a short week. He hasn't got a lot of reps since the preseason. I mean, how much of what we saw was less about Minshew making mistakes or just that Minshew just hasn't been out there playing in a while?
Yeah, I think there's certainly something to that. And it goes to what I was talking about with the exchange with Boston Scott, right? They didn't have a whole lot of time to really get that feel for whether the ball is staying in and he wants you to take it or he's pulling it. And there was, I think each guy had a different thought on that particular play. But timing, right? How much do we hear about timing between receivers and quarterbacks? You're right. I mean, that wasn't there with just one practice under your belt. I would even go a little further and say I wouldn't be surprised if Minshew was pressing a little bit. This was an opportunity on a big stage, and there's some starting jobs to be had out there, right? And he's better than some of the starters that are starting for teams right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was pressing a little bit on top of everything to try and really show, like he did against the Jets last year, that he deserves more playing time somewhere. Obviously, it would not be here, but I think there was some of that, certainly rust, certainly lack of reps. All of it fed into it for sure.
Scott, before I let you go, I want to ask you about an NFC East question here, because going into Christmas weekend, all 4 NFC East teams were in a position to make the postseason. Coming out of Christmas weekend, only the Cowboys won this weekend, and we know the Eagles are already in the postseason, but do we literally potentially go from all 4 teams getting in to maybe only 2 teams getting in?
We could. I think the Giants are going to get in. They have that one extra little bump ahead of the Commanders, and I think that's going to prove to be a big deal. So I think we'll get the Giants in. I don't think we'll necessarily get the Commanders. Look, what we're seeing and what happened was what I know some people like me were talking about. I thought the Giants were a fraud all along, and they kept winning. And they put themselves into this position where they're likely going to make the playoffs. But they, to me, they fell off a little bit. Like that momentum, you can't sustain the way they were. They had definitely fed off of Dable's energy, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for getting them where they are. The Commanders, you knew Taylor Heineke wasn't going to continue playing at the level he was playing. And I think basically what happened was these teams just came back down to earth a little bit, more than anything else. I think they were playing at an extremely high level. They were feeding off of high energy in the middle of the season. We all know the NFC East had a little bit of an easier schedule than some other divisions did. There potentially was some of that involved. So I think what we're looking at is the Cowboys, Eagles, she said first, Eagles, Cowboys, and likely Giants get in. I think the Commanders are going to just miss this, and that's par for the course for that franchise.
He's Scott Grayson at S Grayson Fox 29 on Twitter. He joins the Sports Bash after every Eagles game with his thoughts and grades on the Eagles win or lose. And of course, you can catch him over on Fox 29 News as well. And of course, he will be with Billy Schweim in the locker room this weekend with his keys to the game. So Scott's all over the place. You can catch him 97.3 ESPN, Fox 29 News. Scott, if you got anything else to do, let us know so we can plug it for you.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to find something.
Take care of yourself. Appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, Josh, Nick, take care.
Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Of course, our Eagles talk here on 97.3 ESPN being brought to you by my friends over at Jenkins & Sons. Trust Jenkins, just like we did here in the 97.3 ESPN studio. Yes, we need to make our studio comfortable. That's who we call. They put a great air unit in our room. So if we can trust Jenkins & Sons, you should too. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Just call 609-641-6262 because Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. From heating and air conditioning installation, service and maintenance, water heaters, boilers, leaks, whatever you need done, Jenkins has got you covered. Again, give them a call at 609-641-6262 online at jenkinsandsons.com. Still to come, football at 4 with Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast, and more of your text on the other side. 609-403-0973 is the text board, and your DMs in 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. The day after Christmas. How you guys feeling today? You happy? You annoyed? You frustrated? Are you in a fog because maybe you had too much to drink yesterday? Maybe you partied so hard after the Sixers win to make up for the Eagles' loss? Did you get something you didn't want for Christmas? Let us know. Text board is open, 609-403-0973, and your DMs are free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City in the 973 ESPN mobile app.
We never stop talking Eagles and NFL. It's football at 4. Every day at 4 p.m. on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
If you're struggling with addiction, medication that can support recovery may be the right option for you. Call 844-REACH-NJ now to learn more and start your recovery journey.
Are
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why MVP's Pro Rewards members can earn bonus points on select products and brands like Power Pro, Weehaw, and Valspar. Then redeem your bonus points for exciting rewards like tools, sports memorabilia, Lowe's e-gift cards, and more. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today to start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Subject to program terms. While supplies last. Points expire at end of calendar year. Visit Lowe's.com/L/ProLoads for terms for details. Now through 1/8/23.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right. Everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%, and every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know.
This isn't the olden days. Now, word of mouth has gone online. At Town Square, South Jersey, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in South Jersey you could reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the Town Square today. That's townsquarelocal.com.
Like bones, your teeth lose density and become weaker over time, which can lead to tooth decay. And that can make your visit to the dentist feel like this. But if you want your dental visit to feel like this, try Crest Densify. Crest Densify actively rebuilds tooth density to extend the life of teeth by remineralizing enamel. Densify from Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America. Smile, Crest has you covered.
'Twas the month of December, and all through the lot, people were shouting about the offers they got.
I got more for my trade.
These are the best prices in town.
They bailed me out of my loan. I was upside down. If you're worried about credit, stop. Just apply, because the staff at Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to see you in a new ride. Ho, ho, ho. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Platt Mitsubishi, you're virtually approved. Plus, every new Mitsubishi Outlander SUV puts 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Worried that your credit will keep you from getting a new ride? Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to finance your future, not your past. Simply Matt Platt Mitsubishi. Requalifications exist. Not all will qualify. $27.78 per thousand finance not approved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer, or call 844-946-2315 for complete details, plus tax, license, registration fees. Offers can't be combined. Expires 12/31/22. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, still to come, we got Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw hanging out with you. You've heard Nick on the weekends with Billy Schweim in the locker room here on 97.3 ESPN. Get to the text board in just a bit, 609-403-0973. So now, Nick, how did your holiday weekend play out really quick? Because I know for a lot of people, it was rough because the Eagles were at 4:25 on Saturday, and then the Sixers were 12 o'clock on Sunday. So a lot of people were trying to plan their life now. Obviously, for guys like you and me, we work a lot of jobs. So, it's a little different for us, but just give us an idea of what, you were doing this weekend to work around it all.
Right. No, I was working during the Eagles game. And then on Sunday, I did catch a Sixers game. So that was nice. And then I did some last minute shopping as well before the Eagles game.
Okay.
So I had a couple of things I had to get. I was running a little behind on some gifts, but I got it done about midnight or so. On Christmas Eve, heading into Christmas, I wrapped everything. The literal day of Christmas pretty much, and had everything ready to go on Christmas Day. Watched some Sixers, enjoyed some time with the family. It was a great time. It was a fantastic Christmas for me. Would have liked to seen the Eagles come away with a victory, Josh. Obviously, did not happen. But the Sixers, they won. They won on against the Knicks. And I have a buddy who's a gigantic Knicks fan, right? Had to text him and had to let him know Merry Christmas. The Knicks still stink. And that was great. So that was, it brought me a little more joy on the Philly sports scene, seeing the Sixers win, seeing some New York fans a little upset. So yeah, it was a great Christmas. How about you? Did you have a good Christmas?
So to me, the best Christmas gift I could have gotten was I actually had a day where I'd have to leave the house. All I did was see my parents for Christmas.
Nice.
I didn't have a bunch of places to go, things to do.
I did.
I did work Christmas Eve like you did, because I had Billy Schweim show on Saturday morning. I had some work to do after that here in the studio.
Right.
I had to go do some food shopping on Christmas Eve, which was interesting. So I'm very grateful that the places I went still had the things that I need in stock.
Now, was it crowded when you were driving in and out, going shopping a little bit? Because it wasn't that bad when I was out middle of the day.
It's funny you said that, because I felt like for a Christmas Eve, I was expecting more traffic.
So was I.
So
now worse.
Now where I was at here, Northfield, EHT,
right.
Parkway, Marmora, the northern areas of Cape May County.
Right.
So maybe it was where I was at. Where were you driving around?
I was Berlin area, around there. But it just didn't seem that bad to me. It wasn't that
so it was
bad.
A little universal.
Yeah, I think there were probably spots and pockets that I didn't go to the Deptford Mall or anything crazy like that. I'm sure that was crazy, or Cherry Hill, who knows. But yeah, it didn't seem as bad as I thought. Now on Christmas, I was a little all over the place. I went to my girlfriend's house as well, did some things at my house, had family come over there. So I was a little back and forth, but overall it was a great day. Kind of just chilled out, watched the Sixers, opened some presents, ate some food, and then there we go.
Nice. Very nice. Over on the text board, Jeff in Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973. Jeff says, I'm still confident in the Eagles to make a run to the Super Bowl. I would really like them to come out and dominate the Saints from the opening whistle as they did against the Giants and cruise to that game win and the number 1 seed.
1,000% correct. You want the Eagles to jump out to a big victory and start resting them in the Saints game. That'd be great to rest some starters.
Also on the text board, Texter says someone needs to talk Darius Slay. According to the analytics, he is ranked one of the worst corners in the last 7 games in the NFL. The problem with those analytics, Dave, is that they're subjective.
Right.
It's very much dependent on how are you analyzing Slay. If you're analyzing him as something he's not doing, for example, if the Eagles are running a zone and you're analyzing him as a man corner, then you're misprojecting him. One of the problems, for example, so I know Mike Clay from ESPN. There's a lot of those projections, those rankings.
Yes.
And one of the things that he has talked about here on 97.3 with me and on other shows is that you have to project guys based on the system they're in. And one of the problems with people like Football Outsiders and Pro Football Focus is a lot of the analytics are not system-based. They're player-based. So if a guy is playing in a system that does not line up with the numbers, that's why the rankings might be skewed. I don't think Slay is one of the worst corners in the NFL at all.
He's not by a mile.
But I think that the problem is that like last year and the year before with Schwartz, there are times that they do ask him, Nick, to do things that are maybe not his strength.
Yes, that is 100% correct. And, you know, with those analytics things, you're totally right. Like, they're subjective. Like, how are you looking at Darius Slay and what are you doing to come up with these certain statistics? And, you know, the way the Eagles sometimes play defense, they play a lot of zone with Slay at times. And if you're looking at him from a man coverage perspective, it's not going to line up. It's not going to be correct. And he is going to look like a bad corner, which he's not. And he's a Pro Bowler. So,
and like I was saying earlier in the show, for those who missed it, you know, I was with people who were trying to tell me that Slay was having a bad game. I kept explaining to them, like, no, Slay is having to pick up Josiah Scott's mess.
I think most people should be able to see that, especially on the 3rd and 30 play.
Well, they should, but they don't always see it because
Right.
the problem is that people get emotional. And, you know, what happens is in the midst of a game, you know, people like me watch the game analytically. I don't watch it hyper emotionally. So the person who's not looking at the game the same way I am or you are or someone else who covers, you know, the game like we do, or even one of those big-time experts, you know, we see the game differently. That's all. By the way, shout out to John and Brigantine. Thank you for listening and the kind words on the text board. Coming up next, Football at 4, Geoff Mosher, Inside the Birds podcast on the Eagles. Next.
'Tis the season to celebrate college football. It's bowl season.
Texas wins an amazing Rose Bowl.
Over 20 bowl games, right up to the College Football National Championship game on January 9th.
Michigan has won the All-State Sugar Bowl.
It's College Bowl season on 97.3 ESPN.
Listen to the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl, Memphis versus Utah State. Coverage begins tomorrow at 3:15.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Hosting the holiday gathering? Here are the core 4 food safety tips to keep you and your guests safe from foodborne illness. Clean, separate, cook, and chill. Clean all surfaces and your hands with warm water and soap after preparing each item. Separate raw meat, poultry, seafood, and eggs from other foods. Use one cutting board for fresh produce and a separate one for meat. Cook food to a high enough temperature to kill harmful bacteria. Use a food thermometer and check guidelines for each individual food. Finally, refrigerate foods quickly because cold temperatures slow the growth of harmful bacteria. Avoid overstuffing the refrigerator for better air circulation and keep it at a temperature of 40 degrees or below. If you're the host this holiday, follow the core 4 food safety steps. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
May old car problems be forgot in a brand new SUV.
Stop! You can't start the new year in an old car. Looking for some holiday cash? Then don't miss Matt Platt Nissan's Holiday Vehicle Buyback. It doesn't matter what you drive. AJ, the trade man, wants to buy you a vehicle today. Regardless of the make, miles, condition, or situation, AJ will buy your ride for cash today. So treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Rogue. 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest on every new Matt Platt Nissan Rogue.
It's on at Matt Platt Nissan.
Drive away with peace of mind because only Matt Platt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattPlattNissan.com. Re-qualifications exist with approved credit. $2,778 per thousand financed on in-stock 2023 Nissan Rogues. Not all will qualify. Go to MattPlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 1/31/23. It's on at Matt Platt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
Gain presents a tale of longing and long-lasting scent. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer lasting scent.
O'Reilly. Don't risk getting stranded with a bad battery. Our professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery does need to be replaced, we'll help you find the best battery for your vehicle and your budget. Don't wait until your battery is dead. Get it tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
See the red tag, save a lot of green at the Bridgeton Chevrolet Buick GMC Red Tag event. Get $500 red tag bonus cash on select new models. Plus, make no payments for 90 days. Lease a new 2022 Chevrolet Colorado Crew Cab, $299 a month for 36 months. Plus, get the BAM Advantage, 2 years of scheduled no-cost maintenance. Save now at Bridgeton Chevrolet Buick GMC. Better get to Bridgeton. Find new roads. Payment deferment excludes leases. $2,500 down on all vehicle offers. See dealer for details.
A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is 97.3 ESPN, home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He is hit. He stumbles. He's down.
WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City. 97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Geoff Mosher.
I think our track record in the last 20 years, how many NFC East titles, playoff appearances, and appearances in the NFC Championship game. Those are some of the metrics I look at, and I'll compare our record with almost anybody.
Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Football at 4 here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill, along with Nick Earnshaw live in the 97.3 ESPN studios, being brought to you by the Gallery Bar Booking Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery and Ocean Casino Resort to go for the win. For more information, visit oceanac.com. Must be 21 or to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Well, on a normal day, we would just be talking about an Eagles loss, but apparently there is nothing normal about this Eagles season, as Geoff Mosher can definitely attest to as he joins us now here on a Monday edition of Football at 4. Geoff, this team is never lacking for drama, is it?
No, I would actually think that this year has been one of their more drama-free years in the history of the organization. Wouldn't you think? I mean, even the injuries, yeah, they stink and they're a headline now. But
right,
compare that to whatever was going on in the Broncos game yesterday. The fighting and things of that nature, and coach getting fired and all that. No, this has been otherwise a pretty good year for the Eagles.
I mean, didn't Jonathan Gannon interview for that job last year?
I believe he did. Yeah. I think he's pretty happy right now.
I think he's happy. The Broncos are not so happy right now.
Not so much.
But I digress. So obviously today is a big news day in terms of the injury front, Geoff. Obviously the news came out this morning about Lane Johnson, about his Adam Schefter calls it a tendon tear in his abdomen, which, I mean, the abdomen is a pretty big region, so we're not going to hyper speculate that. But then Avonte Maddox out indefinitely, and Nick Sirianni basically confirmed that he expects both of those guys to miss some significant time. So what do we take away from the news about Johnson and Maddox right now?
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, individually, I think everybody, I don't have the statistic in front of me, but I think everybody's seen it at some point or other over the last few years, that the Eagles' record with Lane Johnson starting at right tackle compared to without Lane Johnson starting at right tackle is quite different. They obviously win something over 65% of their games with him, not nearly as much without him. Now, this team is different. This team is built to withstand injuries. I think Jack Driscoll can hold the fort down. They only need one win here to clinch everything that they want, the division and the number one seed. So I don't think it's a big reason to freak out. I think Driscoll can do just fine against the Saints. I'm sure they'll game plan around it a little bit. But the Maddox injury stinks because, he's just coming back. Obviously, injuries have hurt them in the secondary. You see that even in games they've won, they've given up, some passing yards, especially in the slot, that they try to alleviate. And so whenever I see a toe injury that is going to sideline someone for a while, Josh, I think maybe that sounds like turf toe. Turf toe sucks. I've never had it, but all the athletes who've ever had it tell me it sucks. In fact, who had it? Javon Hargrave had a serious toe injury. He missed most of training camp, and we didn't really talk about Javon Hargrave much for all of September and October, and then he went on a sack spree, right? He was virtually not an impact player for the first 6 weeks of the season. So it sounds like yet again for Avonte Maddox, the injury bug comes at a bad time and is going to keep him out a little bit here.
Now, how concerned should we be, Geoff? Not specifically about the Maddox injury, but how they looked when he went out, because Josiah Scott looked really bad out there. Like, he looked like he didn't know where he was supposed to be at times. Darius Slay, as Nick mentioned earlier in the show, was obviously not happy after the game. He's basically getting blamed for what's supposed to be Josiah Scott's problems at times. So, I mean, are we concerned that the Eagles didn't make enough adjustments? Is this just the way things are until Maddox or CJ Gardner-Johnson gets back? Like, what do we do right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. If CJ Gardner comes back this week, it is potentially, you may put him in the slot where he played all his New Orleans career, and then just deal with Blankenship or Scott at safety next to Epps. Or you put him at safety and put Scott back at nickelback, wherever the coaches think that it works best. I'd probably put him back at safety because that's where he played all year. That's where he was leading lead in interceptions. So we'll see what goes on there. I think your question on scheme is also fair, though. I thought there were too many free releases, too much soft coverage. And especially, after the first quarter where Lamb had a bunch of catches, you thought there would have been some adjustments there. I have to still look at the all-22. I don't know that there were any great ones. So a little bit of concern. But, this team's lost 2 games. They haven't lost 2 in a row. They're playing New Orleans, not nearly as good of a team as Dallas. New Orleans will be motivated, but, I don't think the ship is sinking by any stretch of the means. By the way, I apologize. I have a cold, so if it sounds like I have sandpaper in my voice today, I'm doing my best. Yesterday, I couldn't talk at all. So this is a major improvement.
Progress.
Well, yesterday, I think my family would say was one of the best days of their lives, along with being Christmas.
Oh, wow. I don't think so, Geoff. I disagree.
Well, I was going to say, if we get back to CeeDee Lamb for a minute, I can't wait to hear what you and Adam do on the tape review pod in a couple days, because I'm telling you, I'm no Greg Cosell or anything, but I vividly saw Kellen Moore telling CeeDee Lamb to run Oklahoma routes from the slot. People forget, when he was at Oklahoma, he was I think it was a 60% in the slot. And literally that Bradbury route where he ran, fake the one-way, goes out and gets open, I feel like I saw CeeDee Lamb run that 20 times at Oklahoma. So it almost felt like Kellen Moore ran to CeeDee Lamb and said, just go in your bag. Have fun.
Yeah, that's the disappointing part, because CeeDee Lamb's a good wide receiver, but he is unique in that he's kind of a tall, lanky, long strider. He's not overly shifty like a Stephon Diggs, right? And that's why, and he also isn't like like a Justin Jefferson. You don't put him on the outside and expect him to win a lot of 50-50 balls. So he's perfect slot, but when you're in the slot, Josh, as you just mentioned, your route tree is limited. I mean, compared to what you can do as an outside receiver. And the fact that the Eagles couldn't adjust to that was problematic.
Geoff, I mean, looking ahead a little bit concerning Jalen Hurts, say the Eagles win this week against the Saints. They clinch the number 1 seed. That Giants game really doesn't mean too much. How concerning is it to you that Jalen Hurts could be out a complete month before stepping on the field in a playoff game?
It is a little bit, Nick, but the one thing people should understand is if he doesn't play against the Saints, but is medically cleared to play against the Giants and does not play, it doesn't mean he's not practicing as the first team quarterback all week for that practice. So I'm not concerned he's going to get so rusty because he hasn't quote unquote thrown a football for 4 weeks. I think he will throw plenty once he's medically cleared. And then, maybe he'll get it. Maybe Nick will do a quarter for him in the season finale. Maybe not. He would have the bye just like anybody else anyway. I'm sure that they will get some rest, but as soon as they play that second round game, he'll be back in practice throwing footballs and preparing as normal. So I know that some people have said ever since he got hurt, oh my God, it's like if they don't play him and then they get the bye, it's like he goes 5 weeks without playing football, sort of, but not really at the same time.
Now, with that being said, one of the things we saw from Minshew was the interceptions. He's not really an interception guy. So how much of that do you think was maybe what we call in the fight game ring rust, Geoff? The guy who didn't get a lot of practice time, didn't get a lot of reps the week leading up. Because I felt like, for example, the one interception, he stared down Watkins and Kerr read his eyes. And to me, it was like, that's not really Minshew's MO, though. He's not a guy who is a one-look guy, typically. He's usually a timing reaction kind of guy. He's a rhythm passer. He's not a guy who just stares down guys like Zach Wilson or something.
Yeah, not ordinarily, but everybody can make a sort of mistake at one point. And honestly, both interceptions were exceptional plays by the defense of Dallas. Both Jaron Kearse's, the one you talked about, that was still a tough interception. It wasn't like an easy grab for him. And then the same thing by Deron Bland. Now, I felt on that second interception, Josh, that Quez Watkins did not help his quarterback out by not being very physical at the point of catch. And I think we've seen that throughout Quez Watkins' career, both last year and this year, whether it's an interception or not, is that Quez, when you put a body on him, when you contact him, he'll tend to give up on a ball or a route. That second ball should never have been intercepted. That should have been, if that was A.J. Brown, if that's either caught by A.J. Brown or somehow not caught at all and on the ground, but there's no way that ball is getting picked off by Deron Bland.
Geoff, when it comes to the offensive line and losing Lane Johnson, we've kind of touched on it a few times during the show. Would you make the switch of Jordan Mailata to right tackle and then bring in Andre Dillard at all to go play left tackle, or would you just keep Mailata on the left side?
Yeah, I would keep him, Nick, and that's not a viewpoint that I, woke up and felt. That's from being a reporter for as many years as I've been, talking with different coaches from different teams, scouts, GMs, about planning. And what you'll commonly hear from coaches is that they don't want to have to change from an injury more than one thing. So if you take Mailata and play him at right tackle, you have now changed your right tackle and your left tackle situation. And I get that Dillard can be a good backup at left tackle. And maybe if there's a struggle by Driscoll at right tackle, then you consider making that move because you don't want to hurt the team. But in general, the coaches believe the best thing for their team is to eliminate the variables as much as possible. So if you have, that's why the Eagles try to get as much value among their backups as they can. So it's not like they're throwing a guy at right tackle who's never played it before or who they don't like or they don't value. They draft the kid in the 4th round. They started him in the season opener as a rookie at right tackle. They think his best position is right tackle. So my hunch is that they go with Jack Driscoll at right tackle and keep Mailata at left tackle.
We're talking with Geoff Mosher, Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com, at Geoff Mosher NFL on Twitter. Of course, they have their post-game breakdown. Of course, that came out before the Lane Johnson news came out. So Trey didn't get a lot of chance to dive too much into that. But I did think it was interesting when Trey mentioned, Geoff, about how, hey, it's obvious when Lane's not out there, there's a drop off. And it's something that Nick mentioned earlier that, it's the idea that it's not that the Eagles don't have depth, it's the drop off from who Lane is to whoever the next guy is. And I'm just wondering, because you mentioned about the stability on the line, Stoutland, he's the wizard, right? Stoutland University and everything. I'm curious to see what they do, because the next team is a good defense. The Saints are coming in here. Their offense is garbage. It's basically me and Nick playing wide receiver along with Chris Olave out there. But, their defense does bring something solid and good to the table. So I have to wonder, is part of that stability is Stoutland saying, give me the stability for us to be in the best position to game plan against someone like the Saints, because the Saints have a good defense.
Yeah, they do. So it won't be easy. And then, of course, if Jalen Hurts does not play, and I suspect that he won't, you lose that element of putting a player in conflict on zone read. Like, you can still run zone read, of course, without the quarterback running, but you do lose that whole threat that a defender may change his rush lanes to keep Jalen in the pocket. When a guy rushes high or rushes wide, makes it a little bit easier on the offensive tackle. If they tee off, that's not, great for Driscoll. But again, he's best when he's at right tackle. He's a good lineman, not great. And they can scheme certain ways around him as long as they stay ahead of the sticks. And Minshew continues to be an efficient passer. I don't think it'll be catastrophic. But you could tell there were plays where Micah Parsons was very disruptive and forced Gardner Minshew to throw early or throw out of bounds. And that's part of the game.
Geoff, looking to the Saints game on the defensive side, you saw Dak Prescott have a lot of success against the zone coverage that Jonathan Gannon ran, the soft coverage as well. What do you expect heading into this week on the defense side? Losing Avonte Maddox, maybe getting CJ Gardner-Johnson back, possibly can come off IR this week. Do you see any adjustments, especially against a team that doesn't have a great wide receiving core?
Probably not. Jonathan Gannon believes in his system. It's an execution style offense, meaning it doesn't change very much week to week based on the opponent. The only thing that will change is sometimes he decides to blitz a quarterback a little bit more if it's like a quarterback who needs to get rattled. Quarterbacks who tend to rattle themselves or just aren't that good, like Andy Dalton, sometimes he'll just back off and let them make their mistake. But I would still hope that if there's an adjustment, he plays a little bit tighter coverage to allow those receivers not to have free releases, which then makes the quarterback have to hold on a little bit, allows the front four to get their rush going a little better.
Geoff, you just mentioned an execution style defense for Gannon. But what does he do? Or does he have a plan if he has a guy who can't execute properly, like Josiah Scott, who's out there running around like a chicken with his head cut off, or a situation where, a couple of weeks ago, Kavon Wallace was chasing everybody across the field because he was always out of position. Like, when you have guys who, listen, I'm not trying to diss Wallace or Scott or any player. Some guys, they come in, they're cold, maybe they don't know certain things. Maybe they're not practiced up enough, but isn't what a coach supposed to know what to do when things go wrong? Like, shouldn't Gannon have a plan for if the execution doesn't execute properly?
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you're the head coach of the Ravens, right, and Lamar Jackson gets hurt and your backup quarterback, let's say hypothetically, is Joe Flacco, you're not running the same offense.
Right.
So you're practicing something different throughout the week. You're redesigning what you do. If you're Jonathan Gannon and you lose Maddox or you lose CJ, I don't think you don't change the construct of your defense, because you still practice with guys like Reed Blankenship and Josiah Scott, because that's the backbone of your defense. That's what you've been doing since OTAs and training camp. So these guys know the plays. They know how to execute them. To your point, you can call a little bit more too deep to keep your safeties back, so they're not in man coverage, and call a little bit more zone than man. But the offense then could say, okay, well, I have Alvin Kamara, so every time you play too deep, I'm going to run it right up the gut. against your defense and see if that works too. And then if it's working, people say, well, why are you playing two safeties deep? So there's nothing philosophically that's going to change much. They practice what they practice. What you try to do is limit the type of mistakes that your players can make. You put your players in the best position to succeed. But it's the NFL. On 3rd and 7, you got to play man. You can't just play zone all the time, right? So you're going to have backups in man coverage, and that's where it's your job to maybe run more twists and stunts up front, like try to do something to disrupt the line and the quarterback into making that mistake.
Geoff, before we let you go, I did want to ask you, a lot of the national media is portraying that the Eagles lost the game, not that Dallas won the game. They're pointing to the 4 turnovers. And basically, the national media guys, like the Ryan Clarks, the Dan Orlovskis, the Jason McCourty's on Good Morning Football, all the former players are basically saying, look, the only way the Eagles lose is if they turn the ball over. The Eagles are basically unstoppable if they don't turn the ball over. Is that a fair assessment?
90% fair. I mean, they've got 2 losses, and in both games, I think they turned the ball over 4 times. Was Washington a 4 turnover game? I thought it was. I'll have to go back and check.
I think it was 3, actually.
Was it 3? Okay, I'll go.
Because you had the Goddard fumble, the Watkins fumble, and I thought there was one other fumble in there.
Washington game was 3 fumbles and an interception.
So 4.
So 4 turnovers.
Yeah. Gotcha. So the only way the Eagles have lost, to their point, right? The only time the Eagles have lost is when they've turned the ball over 4 times. And by the way, they almost one was a double-digit loss. Okay, 11 points. The other was right there for them to win.
Right.
So most teams that turn the ball over 4 times are going to lose by like 20-something points. The Eagles have been turned the ball 4 times and been in both of the games that they've lost. However, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the only way the Chiefs, the Bills, or the 49ers can beat them is by forcing 4 turnovers. That's not fair either. So I get their point. The point should be the only time the Eagles have really lost, the only way to have beaten them so far is to force them to make 4 turnovers. But that doesn't mean that's the only team and the only way they can win. But I do get their point that it's really hard to beat the Eagles unless they just completely fall all over themselves. But I will go back to the schedule and say they haven't played a whole lot of teams that are so good that they can make the Eagles just cough up the ball 4 times.
He is Geoff Mosher at Geoff Mosher NFL on Twitter. The Inside the Birds podcast. Like, subscribe, download, give it the 5-star review. The tape review pod is coming out Wednesday morning. And of course, InsideTheBirds.com for more Eagles coverage. Geoff, go get some Ricola, some Halls, stick it in your throat so you're ready for Wednesday's pod. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Honey sticks.
Honey sticks.
Right,
get better, Geoff. Feel better.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Batch on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. I mean, he literally had honey on a stick there.
Honey on a stick. I mean, hey, hopefully he feels better. He gives great stuff there from Geoff Mosher, as always, but hopefully he feels a little better heading into next week.
I've always said some interesting things there, so we want to get into some of those coming up next, as well as some texts coming up on the other side. Phil chimes in at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Don't forget, still to come, Casey Joyner, the football scientist from The Athletic. One thought on every game. We'll get his analysis of the Eagles after the Cowboys loss. Plus, Jeff Kerr. He hosts Good Morning NFC East. Every team in the NFC East lost but the Cowboys over the weekend. Do we read into it? Do we not read into it? Well, that's Jeff Kerr coming up at 5:30 tonight. All that and more here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig alongside Nick Earnshaw live at the 97.3 ESPN studios, hanging out with you on a Monday, the day after Christmas on 97.3 ESPN.
We have the same New Year's resolution as last year to bring you the best sports talk in South Jersey.
Happy New Year.
We are 97.3 ESPN.
Do you love a good cigar almost as much as your family? Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can find that perfect cigar at Smoker's Haven. With 5 New Jersey locations, Smoker's Haven has the finest selection of cigars in the area, like Ashton, My Father's, Romeo and Julieta, Monte Cristo, and more. All from the finest tobacco leaves and hand-rolled by the world's finest cigar makers. All locations are fully open. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. See all they have and their locations at smokershavennj.com.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay, and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys, and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%. And every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total. Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
What you've heard about probiotics is probably wrong. I eat yogurt, so I don't need to take a probiotic.
Probiotics? They don't really work.
It's time to learn the truth about probiotics and join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up. Align has probiotics to naturally help relieve occasional bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Try Align probiotics for a month and see how great a healthy gut can feel. Get $2 off your first month of Align at AlignProbiotics.com.
O'Reilly. Protect your vehicle's engine with Syntec at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines to dissipate heat and reduce friction and wear. Right now, get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $33.99. Try Syntec today, exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Powered by NJM. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter reports the Eagles' right tackle Lane Johnson will miss the rest of the regular season with a torn tendon in the abdominal area. There is hope, though, he can return for the postseason. Meanwhile, reports are that quarterback Avonte Maddox is out indefinitely with a toe injury. The Eagles need one more win to lock up the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs when they host the New Orleans Saints this Sunday. Listen to Eagles football right here on 97.3 ESPN, kickoff at 1 p.m. The Sixers have won 8 in a row thanks to their big win over the Knicks on Christmas Day. They travel to Washington to play the Wizards on Tuesday night. You can listen to Tom McGinnis call all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN at 7 p.m. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
Norman, before we start the surgery, I have some bad news.
What is it, doctor?
Well, I never graduated from med school, but the good news is it's the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale. Now hurry, because new Xfinity customers can get 400 megabit internet for just $30 a month for 2 years with no annual contract when they add Xfinity Mobile. And this will get your heart rate up. For a limited time, you'll get $500 back when you add a second mobile line.
I gotta get this deal.
Plus, get the best price when you get unlimited data on both lines.
That's amazing, Doc.
I know. I don't want to miss this deal. Let's reschedule.
Doc?
Drop everything and get to the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale now through January 10th. Go to Xfinity.com/Hello2023. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Internet offer requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After term, regular rates apply. Xfinity Internet required for Xfinity Mobile. Compares Xfinity Unlimited Intro to lowest price 5G plans of top 3 carriers. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage per line. Data thresholds may vary.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The deep freeze is on as we dive into New Jersey's coldest Christmas in decades. In fact, tonight's cold and wind will be in the danger zone. I'll give you a low of 11. The wind chill as low as 10 below. Bundle up. Tomorrow, partly sunny, dry, still windy. High of 20. The wind chill no better than the single digits. Sunday, mostly sunny, breezy, still below freezing. High 29 for Christmas Day. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Good news, New Jersey. More residents are getting quality, affordable health coverage through Get Covered New Jersey. Established by Governor Murphy, Get Covered New Jersey offers increased plan choices and more savings than ever. Open enrollment is here. If you need health insurance, now is the time to enroll. 9 in 10 people get financial help for plans that include preventive care, prescriptions, emergency services, and more. And many pay $10 a month or less. Find your plan at getcovered.nj.gov.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill along with Nick Earnshaw here in the 97.3 ESPN studio. What a crazy day it's been NFL-wise. You know, you had Christmas over the weekend, all those crazy games. The Vikings win their 11th one-score game this season. Giants lose. Washington loses. Tua throws 3 interceptions in the Packers win. What a crazy weekend it was. So we're going to try to reset all of that for you right now here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the latest Eagles news, as you heard on the update, Lane Johnson, he will be out for the rest of the regular season. Interesting note here by Dr. Chow. So for those who are on Twitter, he's known as the Pro Football Doc. He's a guy who used to work for the Chargers organization. He does a lot of independent work for a lot of different media outlets. So this is what he just said earlier. He's being interviewed this afternoon by Rich Gannon. I guess Rich Gannon has his own show on a digital show, it looks like, called Down and Out. Or this is maybe just the down out injury update. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I understand. But basically, Rich Gannon was interviewing Dr. Chow, and this is what the doctor had to say about Lane Johnson's injury.
Depends on what the torn tendon is and where in the abdomen. My suspicion, it's more related to the groin, the lower part of the abdomen, what we call the core muscle injury as it inserts along the pubis there. Sometimes that's surgery, but they don't have time for surgery. So rest the next 2 weeks and maybe 3, because the Eagles might still get the bye. They're in position, and then roll and play. And Lane Johnson's played through lots of injuries before. No doubt that he will play through it again. Rest the rest of the regular season, but return and let's see what he can do in the playoffs.
So now that, first of all, that's a doctor. That's not me or Nick diagnosing for you there.
No.
But I thought that was a very interesting description, because what he's saying is he thinks it's more groin abdomen than upper abdomen.
Yeah, so he's thinking it's lower body, more lower abdomen, more so than being upper. Yeah,
that suggests to me more of like an issue with mobility and stability than the traditional, like, like the sports hernia, or like the the umbilical hernia surgeries. This isn't a hernia they're calling it a torn tendon. And what Dr. Chow is saying is he suspected what they're trying to cover up for the fact that the lower, abdominal, a groin injury. And if that's the case, that's a whole nother set of questions about somebody's recovery.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, is he going to be able to set? Like, is he able to drop back? I mean, there's a lot of questions. I mean, offensive linemen, a lot of the power comes from their legs. So that's a question that is concerning. Like, if it's a little bit lower than we're possibly thinking, you and I, Josh, then that's very concerning heading into the playoffs. And, he'll have the Saints game off. He'll have the Giants game, then hopefully the bye week, and then heading into that week in the first game of the divisional round, that would be a decent amount of time off for Lane Johnson, about 3.5 weeks or so for him. I don't know. Is he going to be ready for the playoffs? Like, yeah, we know he's going to miss the regular season. Will he be ready? Is it going to keep him out of a playoff game? How much time is he going to miss? Nick Sirianni did not really kind of mention that today. He never really gives any updates on injuries as much. Kind of says it is what it is and it moves on. Basically what he said today. And I guess we'll go from there. But the Lane Johnson injury, I think when it happened, I think most people were concerned it would be pretty significant, and it might turn out to be extremely significant.
Yeah, so we're going to see exactly how the Eagles handle it for the next few weeks. But again, Lane's expected to miss the rest of the regular season. And Avonte Maddox, he is out indefinitely with a toe injury. You heard Jeff Mosher say earlier, Nick, that it could be turf toe. And for a lot of athletes, it's very problematic. Now, the reason why I brought up the Trevor Lawrence thing was because Lawrence has had a quote-unquote toe issue for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and he's basically has gone out there and played. So, when these teams don't give explicit diagnoses, explicitly diagnosing things, it's hard for the audience listening to us on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank and Seattle, wherever you're listening to the show. We appreciate you tuning in. It's hard for us to give an explicit information when the people are basically giving us the next stage above upper and lower body injury here.
Yeah, when the team clearly doesn't want to give I guess you could say the most descriptive injury report for Lane Johnson out there. They don't want to be giving a ton away. So they're kind of just brushing over it a little bit with what it is. No one really knows. I mean, you see it in hockey all the time. You see upper, lower body injury. They don't want to give away what is going on with the player. So, it's a significant loss for the Eagles and Lane Johnson. You're losing one of the top right tackle in football. It hasn't given up a sack since the year 2020. Unbelievable to think that's even a stat or possible. So listen, the Eagles they're going to miss Lane Johnson. And if Jalen Hurts is without Lane Johnson, what does it look like? How is he going to, what's it going to look like when he runs to that side of the field? Is he going to be able to as much, or, I don't know how much you're going to get out of Jack Driscoll. It's very concerning to lose a player of that caliber.
Couple of NFL news and notes from around the league. For those who didn't maybe see it earlier, Nathaniel Hackett officially fired in Denver. I mean, that was an embarrassing game yesterday for anybody who actually, if you were like me and you were actually watching the Broncos, which I can't wait. Can I just really say real quick? I cannot wait to see what the viewership numbers were for these games this weekend. I have a feeling this is going to be the most bizarre viewership breakdown because I feel like Eagles Cowboys had a good audience, 425,
probably massive,
probably might be the most watched game of the weekend.
I don't know though, because a lot of people might have been out and about.
Right. That's why I'm saying I don't know, and then on Sunday, the Packers Dolphins was a very good game. But how many people were watching? How many people were watching the NBA? The Sixers game was on before that game. So a lot of people, you're a Sixers or a Knicks fan, you're probably watching Sixers Knicks and you flip over to Dolphins Packers at halftime.
Right.
I'm very curious to see what these viewership numbers are this week. But I digress. If you were like me and you were watching the Rams Broncos game, you're just looking around like, what the heck is happening here? And today Hackett gets fired. And I thought it was interesting because the press release said our fans deserve better.
The problem with that is they haven't made the playoffs in how many years, Josh? Was it 7 we were talking before the show?
So the stat that was put out there was that I'm gonna pull it up really quick because I don't want to mess it up because I thought it was. You and I both looked at each other when we looked at it. We were like, "Is that real?" But
yeah, they have not been and heading into the season, Josh. The expectations for the Denver Broncos, the AFC West,
high,
extremely high. People thought every single team in that division was going to make the playoffs,
and now only one.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, terrible year for the Raiders. I mean, he was a horrible hire to begin with. And then you had Denver Broncos. They bring in Russell Wilson, new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. They have these weapons, Jerry Jeudy, young players. They make the trade with Seattle. People had high expectations for them. Completely disappointment. They fired their coach before the end of the year. Kansas City still playing well, still a relevant team. People were concerned with losing Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And the Chargers, people thought the Chargers were going to take that next step to elite status, and it just hasn't happened. A lot of injuries to Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, a lot
Rashawn
of the
Slater on the offensive line.
Offensive line as well. So that division has been massively disappointing as a whole.
Here's the stats. So the Broncos have missed the playoffs for 7 straight seasons since winning Super Bowl 50. It's the longest drought in NFL history by a team immediately following a Super Bowl win.
How about that? Since Peyton Manning. And Peyton didn't have a great year.
The defense won that game.
Yeah, he did not have a great year.
The defense won the championship. He had a noodle arm out there.
They really haven't had a quarterback, it feels like, for a while. And, we know John Elway, a lot of pull in that organization. And
but they're phasing him out.
Yeah. And now where do you go from here if you're the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson, who's going to be 35 years old next year? So, what happens?
Well, here's a couple scenarios for you really quick. So Josina Anderson, she reported earlier that apparently there's still a lot of interest in the Broncos organization in Dan Quinn and the idea that he would bring Brian Schottenheimer with him to be the offensive coordinator, and that George Patton, the GM of the Broncos, has the same agent as Dan Quinn. There's that out there. Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer is putting out there that Sean Payton may be the leading candidate because the report came out a few days ago that Sean Payton is already building an all-star staff to get back in the NFL, and that his defensive coordinator would be Nick Fangio. Now, here's the problem. Fangio was the head coach of Denver a few years ago. Would Denver actually hire Sean Payton if he's bringing Vic Fangio with him?
What do you do in New Orleans? What happens in New Orleans? Would Sean Payton go back to New Orleans if they don't make the playoffs?
No, he's not going back to New Orleans.
You don't think so?
So here's
a possibility.
Here's the problem in New Orleans. I understand there's a possibility that Dennis Allen could be fired. I do understand that. But I think the bigger problem for New Orleans is twofold. One, the quarterback situation.
They don't have a quarterback.
They don't have a quarterback. And two, their GM failed them this offseason. Mickey Loomis let Teron Armstead walk. They didn't fix the offensive line and fill the holes of guys leaving via free agency or other ways.
And they got fleeced by Howie Roseman.
They got fleeced by Howie Roseman again. Okay. It's not the first time Howie Roseman made a trade with the Saints, by the way, as we know. And people know how he's good at manipulating the market, right? So, if you are, and remember, the ownership of the Saints is a mess because Mr. Benson is no longer with us. His wife basically is running kind of running the Saints and the Pelicans, right? Because they own both. And Mickey Loomis is in charge of both operations of the football and the basketball team. So, does the owner turn around and say, Mickey, you're gone, we're going to hire new people to do these jobs? Do they really blame the head coach? That whole situation has got so many questions. It's kind of like a Tennessee situation. They fire the GM in Tennessee mid-season, right? And it's well, now what? What you're doing is you're basically going to hire a GM now who is inheriting Mike Vrabel, who has won the division a couple times, but he's also inheriting a roster that gave a huge contract to Ryan Tannehill that drafted Malik Willis. Malik Willis looked horrible this weekend, and his answers at the podium were a little Zach Wilson-esque.
Yeah.
His answers were very, for those who didn't see it, was, well, we make mistakes. We got to go to the film and get better. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on this game. Dude, not dwell on this game. You got to learn from this game, you know? So the Titans and Saints are both in this very, very, I guess you would call it limbo at this point.
Yeah, they're both in just such odd situations. And I'm also glad you brought up the Jets. Mike White is cleared to play this week. Zach Wilson, I believe he's inactive, Josh. He's going to be inactive for this game. He has been such a bust from that organization. He has not been great. I was not a big fan of him coming out of school. And he just has not shown. I don't know if he's even a backup. Do you believe he's even a backup in this league in Zach Wilson? I don't even know if he's that. He has been that poor offensively this year. And he doesn't have great instincts. His arm isn't great. He just doesn't have.
He has a good arm.
I don't think he has a great arm.
His mechanics are poor, to say it PG for the radio. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you watch some of those throws, you realize his feet are never set. It's all arm. He's opening his chest. You know, I've listened to Quincy Avery, the quarterback coach.
Right.
I've watched his breakdowns because he's the guy who's trained Jalen Hurts. He's trained Deshaun Watson. He's trained a ton of guys who are in the NFL. And he always talks about how the quarterback's throwing is a ground up mechanic.
Right.
And he has explained in interviews, he's like, look, he said, if you see a quarterback doing all arm and no body, like, you know, people make fun of Dak Prescott for the hip thing that he does. Well, he does that hip thing because that's what the quarterback coaches teach you. They teach you that your mechanics, your throwing comes from the ground up. Like, go back and see every bad throw Jalen Hurts has made this year. It's all off platform. It's not setting his feet. So for Zach Wilson, I don't think he can't throw. I think his mind is so far behind his ability that he's dazed and confused and doesn't have a clue. And I think that he's a little like Ryan Leaf in the fact that he's a guy who had success in college. He put up big stats. He was big man on campus, and he got to the NFL, and he can't handle it.
Yeah, he really can't. He hasn't been shown to handle it. And even the post-game press conferences, the attitude just is not there. He doesn't seem to have that leadership ability and to take accountability for where he's at. And it just has not happened in New York. And I think New York's roster isn't that bad. It's pretty good. And they have a pretty decent defense. So I think New York, if they could find a quarterback, I don't think Mike White's the answer by any means, but if they could find a quarterback, the Jets, they have a shot to be a decent playoff contender in the coming years. But Zach Wilson, I just don't even know if he's going to be able to be a backup in this league for where he's at. And he just has not found a way to develop. And he's also had a lot of injuries as well to start his career. So I'm just out on Zach Wilson. I wasn't a big fan of him coming out of college either.
I don't think he's unsalvageable, but I do think that guys like Zach Wilson, Josh Rosen, Blake Bortles, what happens to them is that when things go south, they go south quickly. And it's not that these guys can't play. You can't be in the NFL.
And can't, right. Exactly.
You know, unless you're Nate Peterman. Like, Nate Peterman is the only guy I can think of who's legitimately like, holy Toledo Batman. Yeah, this guy is trash.
Nick Sorley might be up there too. I don't think he's that great. I know he's a Penn Stater, but
guess what? He didn't play that bad though. His team around him played pretty.
They were bad. They were bad too.
You know, but here's my point. Like, these guys, they have talent. The problem is they end up in situations that they're not taught how to play. You know, one of the things Russell Wilson is he a system quarterback? Is he a guy who excels in a certain structure? And maybe the problem with Nathaniel Hackett was he was putting Russell Wilson in positions to not be successful. Because remember, the Broncos a couple weeks ago almost came from behind and beat the Chiefs. You know, that was still Russell Wilson throwing the Jerry Jeudy, right? You know, so Russ still has it in him. But the question is, do they need a Sean Payton or a Frank Reich? Or, you know, Brian Schottenheimer was the OC in Seattle for a bit when Russ was there. Does he need a certain coach to bring it out of him?
Again, as he ages.
Yeah, as he ages. You know, Brady, he's still got the zip on the ball, but nobody's catching it. You know, guys are dropping it left and right. So it's like, it's hard to judge some of these guys. You know, one of the things that Von Miller was explaining to Micah Parsons in that podcast a few weeks ago was that Aaron Rodgers wins an MVP. Lamar Jackson wins an MVP when they have good talent around them. You take that talent away from them, all of a sudden they don't look so good, right? So, you know, are we not factoring in enough the coaching and the talent plus the quarterback is what's important. So my question about Josh Rosen, Blake Bortles, Zach Wilson is, if you put them in a different situation, are they different? Maybe they're not. I don't know. But it's just a question I like to ask because I saw Baker Mayfield look not good with Hugh Jackson and win a playoff game with Kevin Stefanski, look like trash in Carolina, and now it looks like the second coming in with the Rams.
Yeah, he looks fantastic with the Rams. I mean, it looks like a totally different quarterback and a more engaged and confident Baker.
So that's a guy who had two coaches who got the best out of him, and 2 coaches who got the worst out of it.
Yep. It's been a heck of a career for Baker Mayfield.
So I'm just saying, sometimes with these quarterbacks, we have to ask the question, is it the quarterback or is it something else? I get in trouble for saying this, but I'll say it again, Nick. I've been saying it for, 5-7 years now on 97.3. And the audience, I know some of you are driving your car right now, listen to 97.3 ESPN FM, rolling your eyes because you know it's coming. Or you're listening to 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and you're sitting in your office, you're face palming, or you're sitting at home listening to the show. If the receivers don't catch and the offensive line doesn't block, is it really the quarterback's fault?
Couple of face palms, I think, just now.
He's Nick Earnshaw. I'm Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank Seattle. We'll wrap up the hour coming up next.
Our love for sports is what makes us different from any other station in South Jersey.
Oh, yeah!
Number 1 for live sports and sports talk. 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Matt Blatt Mitsubishi in Glassboro offering you huge discounts. Now you can get a great deal on a brand new Mitsubishi online at mattblatt.com.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? BMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit espnsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. espnsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to espnsolar.com to see if you qualify.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Pro. Progressive Fence and Rail. Fencing, railing, shower enclosures for home builders and homeowners. Customized just for you. Awnings and decks, yeah, we do those too. Yeah. We get it done right. We get it done fast. With quality products built to last. If you need help around the outside of your home, the only name you need to know is Pro. ProgressiveFenceandRail.com.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hear ye, hear ye. Thanks for coming to the town square. First, I'd like to tell you about Steve. He's a plumber. I hear he does good work. Also, Tim. He's this new thing called a dentist. Oh, and Monica, she has a new vegan restaurant. I didn't even know that was a thing yet. Anyway, if you need those things, just wander around town and try to find them because the internet hasn't been invented yet, so I don't know. This isn't the olden days. Now, word of mouth has gone online. At Town Square, South Jersey, we can show you how to harness the power of your existing word of mouth and amplify it online. Go to townsquarelocal.com for a free local customer analysis, where you can see how many local customers in South Jersey you could reach online. Visit townsquarelocal.com and be the Town Square today. That's townsquarelocal.com.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
See the red tag. Save a lot of green at the Bridgeton Chevrolet Buick GMC Red Tag event. Get $500 red tag bonus cash on select new models. Plus, make no payments for 90 days. Lease a new 2022 Chevrolet Colorado Crew Cab. $299 a month for 36 months. Plus, get the BAM Advantage. 2 years of scheduled no-cost maintenance. Save now at Bridgeton Chevrolet Buick GMC. Better get to Bridgeton. Find new roads. Payment deferment excludes leases. $2,500 down on all vehicle offers. See dealer for details.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, wrapping up the 4 o'clock hour. 1 hour to go. Josh Hennig along with Nick Earnshaw filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash. Nick, you have survived 3 hours with me so far. How you doing over there?
Oh, it's been a blast, Josh. We had a lot of fun. Great guests so far. Mike McGarry, Mosher, Scott Grayson. We have a couple more. Casey Joyner, Geoff Kerr. It's been a great show, and we've had some great sports talk today.
I will not divulge how much I paid you to say that. But you are right. We do have Casey Joyner, Geoff Kerr still to come on the show. One thought on every game with Casey Joyner. Geoff Kerr will join us to talk some NFL as well. And, of course, we'll get to your texts a little bit on the other side the next hour. We got text from Phil. We got text from Geoff. All that and more still to come here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Monday edition of the Bash. More football talk next.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Week 16 takes us to Indianapolis for the Colts and the Chargers. Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers at 8-6 are in the thick of the AFC wildcard race. Can their high-flying offense keep it going for a third straight win? Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner to find out on Monday Night Football.
Listen to Monday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's a red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay, and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys, and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%. And every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum $10,000 for total. Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
When you can't stop, there's Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub sends powerful medicated Vicks vapors right to the source of your... so you can experience cough relief and breathe easier. Generations of families have trusted Vicks VapoRub to help relieve the worst cold symptoms. So next time you have a cough, reach for the Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub. Cough relieving is believing.
If you run a small business, you need the most from every investment. That's why Comcast Business gives you more. Like more innovation with our new gig speed Wi-Fi, plus unlimited data. More speed from the largest, fastest, reliable network for small businesses. And more savings, up to 60% a year with Comcast Business Mobile. All from the company that powers more businesses than any other provider. When you need more, you need Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast, reliable internet for just $49 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Or ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Call or go online today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. EcoBill and autopay required. New 50 megabits per second internet customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Mobile savings compares pricing of top 3 carriers. Comcast Business Internet required.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Gift the best with the best steaks of your life from Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher since 1917. Perfectly aged, tender, unforgettable, and guaranteed delicious. Go to omahasteaks.com and use code TREAT at checkout to get an extra $30 off your order. Pick from an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon or ultra juicy burgers. Shop omahasteaks.com. Use promo code TREAT at checkout for that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required.
For everything your business needs to make this year your year, Staples has you covered.
I need to organize all my papers and files from last year and the year before that.
Staples has you covered.
I need a new desk calendar so that I don't miss a meeting with my boss or a soccer game with my daughter.
Staples has you covered with everything you need to get organized this year. Right now, a 2023 lined desk calendar is $3.99 and an unlined calendar is just $4.99. Make this year your year at Staples. Offer ends 12/31. In-store only.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Sports is what we do.
You're in your car, you're in your house, you're wherever you are. You're a sports fan.
97.3 ESPN.
Because if you weren't a sports fan, you wouldn't be listening.
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Now, live inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill along with Nick Earnshaw here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. The day after Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, whatever your thing is. We appreciate you listening to 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Eagles lose. Well, almost the entire NFC East lost over the weekend.
Except for one team.
2 through 3 interceptions. Nathaniel Hackett is fired by the Broncos. It's been a busy weekend, and it's supposed to be Christmas.
Green Bay's got a shot.
Green Bay's got a shot. You know, it's supposed to be a holiday weekend, and yet a lot happened in the NFL. And to get to all of it right now is one thought on every game with Casey Joyner being brought to you by Cape Regional Health System. For a healthier life, call 609-463-CAPE. That's Cape Regional Health System brings you Casey Joyner. One thought every game in review of the Eagles game here on 97.3 ESPN. Casey, Merry Christmas. Welcome back. How you doing?
Great. Merry Christmas to you as well. It was a fun weekend of games. I was worried about the Sunday games. They ended up being more entertaining than expected. So really good weekend of games.
Let's first get to the Eagles. Casey, one of the things that a lot of the national people are bringing up is the Eagles had 4 turnovers. Well, they also had 4 turnovers in the Washington game. So is the only way to beat the Eagles for them to beat themselves?
I was more concerned about the idea that they got into a shootout game. And a shootout game is where each team scores 24 or more points. And I've talked about this over the years, mentioned that some studies I did when I was at ESPN and even since then says that offenses, even I'm talking the elite offenses in NFL history, offenses that scored 500 points or more in 16 game seasons, you're talking about 30 points a game on average. You put those teams into shootout games, they won about 60% of them as a total. And if you take a couple of the outliers who did really well, it was a 50-50 proposition. And teams have been looking for, how do you beat the Eagles? How do you beat the Eagles? I'm looking at the Cowboys matchup going, I think the Cowboys showed you can beat them in a shootout. And when I look at what the Eagles' potential playoff matchups might be, I can see a string of potential shootouts in the playoffs. And you just got to find a way to keep from getting in these high-scoring games because you're going to be hard-pressed to win 3 shootouts in a row.
Now, moving forward, we know that Hurts is probably going to miss at least one more game.
Sure.
So what were your takeaways from Minshew, the 2 interceptions? I know it wasn't all bad, but you know how Eagle fans are. They're hyper-focused on those interceptions, Casey.
They are. I could give a little something that they should be just as focused on vertical passes. Gardner Minshew was 11 for 16, and that's passes thrown 11 or more yards downfield. So when you're trying to, stretch the field, 11 to 16, 235 yards, 14.7 yards per attempt and a touchdown, and no interceptions on the vertical throws. So when he was going downfield, taking what should be risky passes, he had a 132.3 passer rating, nearly 15 yards per attempt. Again, 16 attempts is a lot of attempts. He's still completing 11 of those, or 2/3 of his attempts. I mean, those are fantastic vertical pass numbers against the Cowboys defense that honestly can be hit or miss in coverage. But remember, it can be that's not one of the worst secondaries in the league. That's a pretty good secondary to be able to do that. It says, hey, if they need to go vertical Minshew, it shows why I've been saying, I think it stands up. He's the best backup quarterback in the league, and this shows it.
Hey, Casey. You mentioned the secondary, one of the best in the league, but the run defense isn't one of the best in the league for the Dallas Cowboys. Why do you think the Eagles got away from not really running the ball as much early on in this game?
I think because the Cowboys pushed them to get into some sort of a shootout mode. I think when it started, I think Nick Sirianni does what a lot of coaches do. You can go back to, you can go to any of the great coaches. You can go to Coryell, you can go to Walsh and anything. When those coaches realize early in a game, if you take a look at their play calling, you start to break down the percentages of how they go about things, of what the vertical passes they throw, volume of passes they throw, the whole 9 yards. When it becomes clear to them in a contest that this thing's going to get to be a high-scoring game, they a lot of times will just go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just go pass-heavy mode. We're going to get away from the run. They don't try and slow things down if they think the game's just not going to be slowed down. And remember, it was 10-7 at the end of the first quarter. It was 20-17 at the end of the second quarter. So it was clear even early on in this contest that this could be a high-scoring game. And I think Nick Sirianni is also the sort that, hey, if it's going to be a high-scoring game and I got Minshew and I've got him playing this well, I don't need to run the football. He probably would have been better suited to do it, to try to slow the game down, to make it more the kind of game they wanted to do. But I can see why he did that, because once it gets in that direction, you kind of just got to go with the flow.
Casey, part of the reason why it was a high-scoring game is because when Avonte Maddox left the game, the Cowboys kept putting CeeDee Lamb in the slot. They were slicing and dicing Josiah Scott to the point where Scott was actually running the wrong direction on a lot of plays. And to the point where Darius Slay, Nick brought it up earlier in the show, Casey, Slay was not happy after the game about the play of Josiah Scott.
He shouldn't be. It was a terrible performance. I mean, that had been an issue. Maddox had been, by the way, when it comes to coverage, he had been kind of hit or miss this year anyway. It wasn't like he was always doing very well in coverage, and to be able to have him play at that level it's a bad thing, but the Eagles are going to get Gardner Johnson back, so that will solve some of the issues back there. But it's a weakness for the Eagles, I think, even with Gardner Johnson coming back, that going after what they have in the slot, they're going to have to find a way to defend it even better. But I think what part of their frustration had to be is that they know as a defense, this has been a problem at times this year, They knew once the injury happened, and they knew Scott's been bad in coverage. So they knew, hey, we figured we could get into this kind of a problem. We're here, and it's just as bad a problem as we thought it was going to be. I don't think it was just a matter of the performance was bad, but knowing that, hey, we knew this was coming. We trained to try to stop this, and we still couldn't. That's going to be very frustrating for Philadelphia defense.
I'm glad you mentioned Gardner Johnson because we've been talking about this a little bit today. What do you do when he comes back with Maddox out? Do you move him into the slot? Because we saw how great he was in New Orleans as a slot corner in the nickel. Do you move him back there? Keep Reed Blankenship, who's been playing pretty well. He's been serviceable as a safety. Is that something you have to think about if you're Jonathan Gannon?
Yeah, you got it. Bill Walsh said that if you have a personal weakness on defense, that any good coach can just target it as much as he wants to. That's what we saw in this game. If you've got any personal weakness on defense, a good coach can go after it. And of course, we headed to the postseason. You've got a lot of good coaches, a lot of good offensive coaches who could target those things. So I think if you're the Eagles and you see that you've got that weakness in slot, you have to make sure. It's a huge weakness right now. You've got to make sure at least shore it up to where you've got at least even just average, decent, B average, B minus level of coverage. You've got to do something because right now it'd be I would grade it as a D in coverage, and you've got to get that away from opposing teams, because if you don't, what just happened in this game is going to happen all the time, because teams are smart enough now to where they'll go, fine, even if they don't have a guy who usually plays the slot, they'll just go ahead and switch him over there. And Lamb doesn't always play a slot, but he can move around. But they said, hey, what's where we're going to go when the weakness is there? You would see things like if they faced Minnesota, let's say in the NFC Championship, hey, you might see Justin Jefferson going to the slot, because if they would figure a way to do that, the Eagles can't stop it. So yeah, you got to move Gardner Johnson there.
Casey, it's funny you mentioned that because I mentioned earlier in the show that when I was watching CeeDee Lamb, he was basically running Oklahoma slot routes. It was like watching him back in his Sooner uniform. I mean, literally, I'm getting deja vu watching him do it. And it was like the Cowboys went out there and said, hey, CeeDee Lamb, you used to do this in college all the time. Just go and do it to this guy. So, looking forward, one of the terms that was given to us by someone earlier in the show, Casey, we were told that Gannon has an execution style defense. So if you have a coach whose defense depends on execution and guys are not executing, does that coach have it in him to make the adjustments necessary?
Defense is all about personnel. Going back to Walsh, he said the same thing. Defense is all about personnel, that if you have good personnel, you can get by, and if you don't, you won't. And that's why you must have that level of personnel. And the Eagles, that's why they got to put Gardner Johnson there. But can they do it? I mean, you can. What you would try and do, if you've got a situation like that, you could say, that's why I think the Eagles said we're going to have to get into shootout mode, because we know we can't stop them there. I mean, are there things you could do? Sure, you could do what Belichick did to Tony Gonzalez years ago, and he just put two guys when Gonzalez would line up as a slot receiver for the Chiefs, and he literally put two guys on there and played double coverage as if you were not playing inside out, but both guys doing like he was a gunner going downfield. Like on a punt, they would cover him that way. So there are ways, if you want to get really creative, that you could do it, but you're going to have to adjust the rest of your defense. And I think what that means about Gannon is that he's got certain structures he has in place, and he can't adjust those structures necessarily too much to make a specialized game plan like that. But that's why you got to get Gardner Johnson back to make sure you can fill that hole, because he calls good defense, but he has the personnel. But you could say that about a lot of coordinators too.
One more from the Eagles before we let you go, Casey. I don't want to get too heavily into the Saints preview because we'll do that later this week. But I wanted to ask you, with Lane Johnson ruled out for what's now the rest of the regular season, we know the Eagles have struggled in the past. They've only won 37.5% of their games with Lane Johnson not on the field. This Saints defense is good. It's not like they're a bunch of, this isn't the Giants defense, for example. You know what I mean? So, do you think the Eagles have enough to adjust the deal with that Saints defensive front?
I'll be curious to see what the Saints wide receiver core looks like, because the Saints were missing Landry and they're missing Olave this past week. If they have that weakness there, if they have either they're not playing or they're slowed and their offense is not what it could be, then if I'm the Eagles, I go ahead and try and adopt a pass-heavy approach and go ahead and just try and get a big lead on them and force them into a mode that they don't want to be in. If they're one-dimensional offense, make it even more one-dimensional. So I think that'll be a big part of it. But assuming a fully healthy Saints team, I would think the Eagles would say, if I'm them, I still want to try to run the football more and say, hey, we can. I think they could still run the volume without Johnson playing it. I still think they get plenty up front to be able to do that and get back to establishing that that's who they are, because I don't want them thinking they're a pass-heavy team going to the playoffs.
All right, one thought on every game with Casey Joyner, the football scientist, here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig, Nick Earnshaw, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can follow Casey on Twitter at KC Joyner TFS. Casey, let's start with Buffalo in Chicago. This turned into an interesting game before Buffalo pulled away. A lot of running in this game in Chicago.
Buffalo has rushed for 100 or more yards in every game this year. People think of them as this pass-heavy team, and they are. I mean, they can pass as well as anybody, but if you get them in situations where they've got to run the ball, they absolutely can do it. Makes them very dangerous, and it's going to be something where we'll see what Buffalo team shows up next week in Cincinnati and down the stretch, because I think they can go both ways, and I think they need to be able to use both to have success in the playoffs.
Looking at the New Orleans and Cleveland game, KC, this was a frigid game. It was freezing. Andy Dalton, under 100 yards passing. But Alvin Kamara, he scored his first touchdown since that Las Vegas Raiders game back on October 30th. What'd you make of this game?
I made of the game that Cleveland still hey, I want to see what Cleveland's like when Watson gets a full off season, because it is so clear right now that he's just not. He's nowhere near. I even thought, like a lot of people, a lot of fantasy managers did. Hey, he's going to hit the ground running when he gets in there, and he gave him a break for the first game. But now it's been multiple games. He threw 135 yards, and I get the weather and all. I get everything, but this is a situation where that was my big takeaway. Is Cleveland should be a lot better than they are, and the Saints, you're missing your top receivers, and you still can win. It says something for the coaching staff.
What does it say to you that Kansas City's defense showed up in this game versus Seattle? No offense to Mahomes, but that defense actually did a pretty good job.
Spags, there've been as there is every time any coach has a bad game. Fire Spags was a big thing on Twitter a couple weeks ago. He's a very good defensive coordinator, and I think the Chiefs now, you've been seeing them of late. They're doing kind of what they did in their Super Bowl season a couple years ago, and they won the Super Bowl. After Mahomes got hurt that year, they started to lean much more heavily on the run. Not that they wouldn't pass or they wouldn't try and go vertical. You're not going to have Mahomes and not utilize that weaponry, but they really went more heavy with the run. You're seeing the McKinnon-Pacheco combination. I think that the Chiefs are also going to be going more run heavy in the playoffs to protect that defense.
New York Giants and Minnesota Vikings. What an entertaining game this was. I mean, a 61-yard field goal to end it. The Minnesota Vikings, 11 of their 12 wins coming with one score. I mean, what does it say about the Minnesota Vikings?
Minnesota Vikings get into far too many shootout games, but they're good at it. This now makes, I think, they're 6-1 in shootout games. It's the best record in the league. They're one team that can get into those, and they're fine. If both teams score 24, they do not have a problem. They give you a stat that I looked it up last night when I was working on the live blog. 55-yard field goals. This year, the league as a whole has hit just over 60% of field goals, 55 yards or more. In 1980, the league-wide average on all kicks, not just kicks from 50 or more, but all kicks, was 63%. And kickers today are hitting near that many on 55 or more. It's incredible.
That is nuts.
That is crazy.
Over to Cincinnati, New England. Speaking of defense, people love Joe Burrow. He's putting up big numbers, big stats, but I got to give a lot of credit to the Cincinnati defense, Casey. They are traveling all over the place, and they're putting up some big performances, and even the Pats try to fight back into that game. The Bengals defense prevailed.
They are, and Burrow gives that. I'm usually a metrics guy, but Burrow gives that team. He's so unrattleable. You just cannot shake this guy. And it has permeated through the entire roster that, hey, we think we can handle these tough situations. New England's getting down there close to the goal line, and they're going to go in and score, and Cincinnati forces that fumble late. It speaks very well for them. By the way, the Patriots now 7-0 when they allow fewer than 20 points, 0-8 when they allow 20 or more points. If you're New England, you can't let that scoreboard get to 20 or you're dead.
Detroit and Carolina. Carolina setting a franchise record, 320 yards on the ground. The Lions won 3 straight coming into this game. What happened?
I think we all got more impressed by their defense than maybe we should have, because they had allowed believe it was 16 or fewer points in 4 of the past 7 games. So it was 16 or 17 points in 4 of the past 7 games. They've done very well in the run defense. They allowed fewer than 100 rushing yards in 3 of the last 4 games. But if you look at Carolina has shown that they can post 150, 180, 200 rushing yards. They've done it multiple times. They know how to power run. And Detroit's defense really it probably can't handle power rushing as well as people thought they were. Carolina just kept pounding at them too. And Detroit couldn't get Carolina out of that mode. That's a big thing too. They couldn't protect their defense.
One thought every game. The football scientist Casey Joyner here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig and Nick Earnshaw hanging out with you on Monday on 97.3 ESPN. Casey, Baltimore and Atlanta. This was just ugly. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. To me, Baltimore is very fortunate to win this game.
Baltimore has been very fortunate in a lot of ways. That's the thing when you play power football and their defense finally stopped giving up those big plays late in games. That's good for them. They've got that formula for power football. They might get Jackson back this week. It's been 4 weeks since his injury. It's PCL injury in the 4 weeks. He's probably coming back this week. So they'll have more firepower. But just like it's hard to win 3 straight shootout games, if you get into slugfest games like that, the way the league is structured right now with so many teams playing slugfest football, I don't know that they could win that many. So it's lucky for them that it's Ritter, a rookie quarterback they're trying to break in this contest, because I think a competent quarterback would have led Atlanta to a win in that game.
Texans finally got their second win of the season. How about that? Snapping a 9-game losing streak. They beat the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans, they've just fallen off. No Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis hasn't looked that great so far this season, Casey.
He has it. I'm not going to pat myself on the back on this, but I did pick Houston to win only because
you should pat yourself on the back.
Okay. I point that out, though, because they played really well against Kansas City and played really well against Dallas. And I think people weren't giving them enough credit for saying they played hard all year. They nearly pulled up upsets against really good teams. And Tennessee is not a good team right now. Their secondary might be the worst in the league. They were missing 2 starters coming in this game. That's a bad club right now. I think they're a below average team right now. And Houston went out and beat them. It's on the road and all. So give them credit. But I think it speaks more for that people were not giving Houston the credit for being as good as they actually are, or at least fighting as hard as they are, and that Tennessee is as bad as it was.
We all know, Casey, that San Francisco is a really good football team, and George Kittle looks like he's in prime form right now. But that Washington team, a few weeks ago, we were like, hey, this might be a playoff team, and right now they might have a quarterback controversy.
And quarterback controversy in San Francisco, when you look at where their defensive numbers are fantastic, their offensive numbers are fantastic. Do it with a 3rd-string quarterback. I mean, are you kidding me? Brock Purdy is that good. And George Kittle, fantasy teams across the country are very happy about George Kittle doing that well, mine included. But I mean, Purdy, 230, think about it. 37 points. Purdy throws for 234 yards. And I mean, the leader in rushing yards in this game is you're just not getting anything out of it. Cloud is, I think, the leader in rushing yards, and Kittle 105 passing yards. It's not like San Francisco had these fantastic numbers on offense. They just put up that many points, and right now they're playing the kind of they can grind on defense, grind on offense, hit you vertically. They can do the 3 most important things you need to do. They're a Super Bowl contender, even with Purdy quarterback.
Pittsburgh and Las Vegas, the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. How about Kenny Pickett coming back, the late touchdown to George Pickens?
I love it that he plays well. Najee Harris, who had a close relationship with Franco Harris, is hurdling people on the last drive. Pat Fryermuth, the former Penn State guy who had a close relationship with Franco Harris, is catching passes off the ground on that last drive. And the interception that clinched the game was by Cam Sutton, number 20. Number 20 is Rocky Blyer's old number, and Blyer was Franco Harris's backfield mate for many years. So many appropriate ways that game went to end the way that it did.
Casey, over on Sunday, the Packers went down to Miami. Packers didn't just win, but they might have showed some flaws in that Miami team that's been reeling for the last few weeks. Those 3 interceptions, not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions by Tua. I got to admit, Casey, that was awkward to watch.
That was it was trending on Twitter. It was Tua turn the ball over. That was his instead of Tonga Vailoa turn the ball over. That was bad. And the thing is you look at those reads he was making. We're not coaches and things, so maybe there are things that he saw that we didn't. But looking at it from our perspective, going, that throw wasn't there. Like that looks clearly there were a couple of throws that it was obvious he shouldn't have been making those throws. And it says something for Miami. As everybody talks about their powerhouse offense, they're a hit or miss offense. They'll put up 30 many times, but when you look at when they're not putting up 30, they're usually in the teens. And this is a game they got the 20 this time, but this is a game they could have and should have won, and they couldn't put away because of the turnovers. And Mosher leads the game of rushing yards at 45. I mean, that Miami's got to do a better game, better on the ground against the subpar Packers rush defense too. It speaks badly for Miami.
Really quick, Casey, we got a little breaking news here about the Dolphins. Tua is in concussion protocol. Just announced Mike McDaniel, and they're playing in New England on Sunday. So there's a possibility it's not even Tua who starts for them this weekend in a very important game in New England.
Yeah, and if that's the case, they're going to have to lean in that ground game even more. And Mike McDaniel's the most creative ground play caller in the NFL, so that would be something they could do. But if they don't have him, you got to hope you can get a player or two. And again, against New England, how do you get to 20? If you get to 20, you tend to win. Can the Dolphins do it? Yeah, but if you don't have Tua, you're probably ending back in the teens like they usually do.
Moving along to the second game on Christmas Day, the Rams and the Denver Broncos, the final game for Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach of the Broncos. Baker Mayfield, 24-28, 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. Absolute rout by the Los Angeles Rams.
It was. The Broncos were looking for a reason to throw in the towel, I think, this year, just because you can see their team is just, I mean, their linemen don't get along with a quarterback. Nobody seems to get along with a quarterback. The coach is obviously out of his element and such. And that's the thing. I look at this game and go, the Broncos were looking for a reason to throw in the towel, and you're going up against the Sean McVay team. And Sean McVay's team is decimated with injuries, but Sean McVay is one of the most creative coaches in the league, and he always gets his team to play well, and he knows how to attack weaknesses, and Denver gave him plenty of weaknesses. So Broncos finally did what they should have done weeks ago and changing coaches, because they're obviously going to be making a big organizational change of the ownership change a couple months ago. So it's appropriate for them. But give credit to the Rams for coming up with that kind of game plan.
On Sunday Night Football, Casey, I think Al Michaels was very happy that they finally got one of the ugly games this year as Tampa survives Arizona in an overtime affair that was, I think, was missing a lot of fundamental football.
It was. In the Tampa offense, if you say, look, you've got Brady, you've got Evans, you've got Godwin, you've got Fournette, you've got the weaponry that they have, and they only put up 19 points in overtime in this game, and it took, mind you, Arizona McSorley that fumbled the handoff and things to give Tampa the chance to come back. It's just it took a mistake for Tampa to get back to be able to win this game. It speaks badly for them that this is where their team is, and there's been a local report out of a Tampa television station that there's a lot of people around there who are thinking, at least in the Tampa area, who aren't very happy with the way coaching is going. And I said it on this show before that you can't do well in your second time around. Dr. Z pointed out you can't do well in your second time around. Usually history will say if a coach does badly in his first coaching tenure, he's not going to do well in the second. Bowles didn't do well in his first coaching tenure. He's not doing well here. I think Tampa needs to go in a different direction of the coaching staff no matter what happens this year.
I feel like the only guy I could think of who actually did not great in his first and did better in his second was Belichick. That's the only one I can think off the top of my head, really, right?
It's very few. Forrest Gregg kind of did and such. You can find a couple instances of it, but you're talking, it's overwhelming percentages that rebound coaches the second time around. If they had success, they'll have success sometimes the second time around, but they did not have good success the first time around. It just doesn't happen because in the NFL, it's not like baseball where you can have Joe Torre be one of the worst Major League Baseball coach or managers, and then he comes back and he goes to the Hall of Fame because of what he did. Right. You don't see that happen in the NFL.
He's Casey Joyner. That's one thought on every game. Of course, tonight is Monday Night Football. You can hear the action if you want to on 97.3 ESPN. Chargers versus Colts. Casey, Jim Irsay says that Jeff Saturday is a candidate for the head coaching job next year. Your reaction is what?
My reaction is look at what happened with Hackett. Hackett just had that kind of a game, and you've had against 2 games ago, they gave up the worst 1/4 point differential in league history, and you follow that up with the worst comeback in league history. If that's back-to-back games for your coach and you want that guy as your coach, good luck with that, because I think Saturday's showing that maybe this just isn't his cup of tea, and I think the Colts would do well to try and come up with a more seasoned candidate, because you can't it's as Bill Cowher said, it's kind of I'm paraphrasing, but it's kind of an insult to the rest of the coaches of the league to say that you can come up with no experience and just do what we do. No, you got to be a little better than that.
Listen, I know one thing for sure. If you would have told me before the year that the Colts and Titans would be in limbo and that Jacksonville was on the rise, there was a part of me that would smile, but the other part of me that wouldn't believe you. But that's exactly what's happening in the NFL right now. Follow Casey on Twitter at Joyner TFS. Check out all of his work over The Athletic, and he will be back later this week for One Thought preview of every game later this week for NFL Week 17 is coming up this weekend. Casey, great stuff today.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey.
And, of course, Casey's appearance on the Sports Bash being brought to you by Cape Regional Health System for a healthier life. Call 609-463-CAPE. We'll talk more football with the host of Good Morning NFC East on the Jacob Media YouTube channel next. And he's the covers the NFL for CBS Sports. Geoff Kerr joins the Sports Bash next. Josh Hennig, along with Nick Earnshaw, hanging out with you on a Monday on 97.3 ESPN.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com. Powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? EMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit ESPNsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. ESPNsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
'Twas the month of December, and all through the lot, people were shouting about the offers they got.
I got more for my trade.
These are the best prices in town.
They bailed me out of my loan. I was upside down.
If you're worried about credit, stop. Just apply, because the staff at Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to see you in a new ride. Ho, ho, ho. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Platt Mitsubishi, you're virtually approved. Plus, every new Mitsubishi Outlander SUV puts 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Worried that your credit will keep you from getting a new ride? Matt Platt Mitsubishi wants to finance your future, not your past. Simply Matt Platt Mitsubishi. Requalifications exist. Not all will qualify. $27.78 per thousand finance. Not approved with Tier 1 credit. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Or call 844-946-2315 for complete details. Plus tax, license, registration fees. Offers can't be combined. Expires 12/31/22. So come in today and get your deal your way. Located right in the heart of Glassboro for over 30 years.
When you can't stop, there's Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub sends powerful medicated Vicks vapors right to the source of your... so you can experience cough relief and breathe easier. Generations of families have trusted Vicks VapoRub to help relieve the worst cold symptoms. So next time you have a cough, reach for the Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub. Cough relieving is believing.
Powered by the all-new BetParks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
I'm Josh Hennig with your South Jersey Sports Center. ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter reports the Eagles' right tackle Lane Johnson will miss the rest of the regular season with a torn tendon in the abdominal area. There is hope, though, he can return for the postseason. Meanwhile, reports are that cornerback Avonte Maddox is out indefinitely with a toe injury. The Eagles need one more win to lock up the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs when they host the New Orleans Saints this Sunday. Listen to Eagles football right here on 97.3 ESPN, kickoff at 1 p.m. The Sixers have won 8 in a row thanks to their big win over the Knicks on Christmas Day. They travel to Washington to play the Wizards on Tuesday night. You can listen to Tom McGinnis call all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN at 7 p.m. Get more Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and Flyers on our app. Your forecast is next.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The deep freeze is on as we dive into New Jersey's coldest Christmas in decades. In fact, tonight's cold and wind will be in the danger zone. I'll give you a low of 11. The wind chill as low as 10 below. Bundle up. Tomorrow, partly sunny, dry, still windy. High of 20. The wind chill no better than the single digits. Sunday, mostly sunny, breezy, still below freezing. High 29 for Christmas Day. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Batteries Plus Bulbs with stores in Northfield at 900 Tilton Road and on Route 73 in Mount Laurel is your destination for boat and marine batteries. Roy, Scott, and their team are extraordinarily service-minded, and they have creative solutions to fit your cell phones and tablets, batteries for your power tools, cars, motorcycles, golf carts, and other devices. Performance batteries. They have what you need to get ready for storm season, including generators and so much more. Shop local, shop Batteries Plus Bulbs in Northfield and Mount Laurel.
Now, back to more Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on the Sports Bash along with Nick Earnshaw here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Geoff Kerr's appearance on the Sports Bash is sponsored by BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think. Shop their entire new inventory and take advantage of exceptional offers online anytime at BMWAtlanticCity.com. You know, every team in the NFC East lost it for the Cowboys this weekend. And Geoff Kerr hosts Good Morning NFC East on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. So I'm sure for you, Geoff, it was probably a very interesting group of conversations this morning about the state of the NFC East, right?
So, funny thing, Josh, I didn't have a show this morning. Today was our quote-unquote Christmas day, so we don't have a show on Christmas and New Year's, which falls on the Monday for us for some reason. So, tomorrow's going to be very interesting on the show, I'll say that.
Well, let's get into some of the things that you didn't talk about then this morning that you had the day off for quote-unquote Christmas. Let's start with the Lane Johnson news. Obviously, this is a big story because one, you know, the Eagles have had so little success without him, but two, you know, the ambiguity of the injury. We played the audio from Dr. Chow earlier on the show where he was saying that, you know, because the Eagles are not being very specific about the injury, it could be anything, but he suspects it's more of a groin, lower abdominal injury that Johnson's dealing with.
Yeah, so this is what concerns me about Lane Johnson. Will he be back in time for that divisional playoff game? We're assuming the Eagles are going to win one of their last two games and get home field advantage and play on the 20th or the 21st. So that's what concerns me. Will Lane Johnson be back? Because I just don't think the Eagles offense functions the same without. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. They have I think it's like a 380 win percentage when Lane Johnson doesn't play. So
37.5.
Yeah, so they need him back.
So what do you think is the best option for them? We've been asking everybody throughout the show what the Eagles should do because it's more than just who you start there. It's how you run the offense, right? You know, Lane is used in a lot of those polling formations and a lot of those different run plays. For example, you know, with Hurts and the stretch runs, the quarterback options, obviously Minshew's not running that, but how do you think things change with Lane out?
Well, the first thing is, are they going to move Jordan Mailata to the right tackle, or are they just going to keep him at left tackle? And when I was asked this on WIP earlier today, I thought they'd keep Driscoll in for this week just to see how we do. But I always forget you do have Andre Dillard in there, and Andre Dillard could start on probably half the teams in this league, if not more. So that might be the best case scenario. You do play Andre Dillard at left tackle. You move Jordan Mailata to the right tackle. I know in a way, you're killing. I guess you're moving two positions around, but at the same time, it's Jordan Mailata is good at both ends, and Andre Dillard is not. So you might as well just play Andre Dillard. I don't think he's going to be back next year anyway. He'll probably get a contract to be a starter somewhere else. So, why not give Andre Dillard those reps, at least for a week or two?
Hey, Geoff, flipping the switch to the defensive side of things and the Vontae Maddox injury. Now, C.J. Gardner-Johnson could come back this week. And that's very, very interesting because he played a lot of nickel corner, a lot of slot corner in New Orleans. Do you think they make that switch, move him to the slot and play a lot more nickel and then have Blankenship in at safety?
I think that's what they should do, honestly. I just don't want to see Josiah Scott on the field anymore. I defended Josiah Scott a couple times on here this year about certain plays he's made, but the last couple of weeks, he just hasn't been good. And I think that's the best option, honestly. He was solid at nickel corner. I shouldn't even say solid. I should say good. He was good at nickel corner with the Saints. So why not play him there? And again, it's a versatile position. You can move him around. Keep Reed Blankenship or Kayvon Wallace at safety. I think Blankenship's a better player right now. But again, it's not like Kayvon Wallace has been a liability the past couple of weeks either. So I think the best move, honestly, is just put C.J. Gardner-Johnson at nickel corner until Vontae Maddox gets back whenever this turf toe injury heals.
The term we were given earlier today, Geoff, was from Jeff Mosher. He's been told by other NFL people that Jonathan Gannon runs an execution-style defense. Well, Jeff Kerr, I asked you the question I asked Mosher earlier. If you run an execution-style defense and your defense is not executing, does Jonathan Gannon have it within him to make those adjustments?
There were two things that bugged me about this game, sir, and I'm sure all you guys know about how Dak Prescott was 24-24 against zone coverage. You don't think – what bothers me is no one in the booth told Jonathan Gannon, hey, you know what? He hasn't missed in zone. You might want to mix up. So how much of that is on Gannon if no one's telling him that? Maybe it's the personnel around him. It's not defending John Gannon. It's just more than John Gannon here. Mm-hmm. I'm an assistant coach of basketball. I tell a head coach all the time, hey, you might want to switch this up here. Or, you tell them stuff at halftime and they usually execute it. So it works both ways, right? And the other thing that bothered me is 3rd and 30. That's the best you got. You basically let T.Y. Hilton kind of go past Darius Slay and you have the safety basically make the play on the ball. Well, the safety and make the play on the ball. I don't know. His game plan Saturday, outside of rushing the passer, just bugged me to no end. And I think Jonathan Gannon's a good defensive coordinator. I think Saturday was just not one of his better days.
But, Geoff, that's part of the problem, and that is for people like me who question Gannon coming into the year, that's a game that gives people like me and listeners who understand what I'm saying, it gives us fuel to the fire. It gives us opportunity to criticize this guy. Look, this guy overall, Nick brought up early in the show, overall in the year, he's had a good year. It's the top 10 defense, right? In many categories are top 5. But when you have games like that where you don't make adjustments, it's hard for the fan to sit at home and you, me, Nick, the listener sitting in their car right now, listening on 97.3, they're all saying, if I see it and you see it, we all see it, how does the coach not see it?
Here's the other thing too, Josh. Dallas has number 1 offense since Dak Prescott came back. So you got to keep that in mind. The Eagles gave them points. 4 giveaways gives them what? They got 6 points off the takeaway. They scored 20 points off 4 takeaways. So did the defense play that bad? Well, yes and no. I don't think they played well. I mean, I'm ready to blame Jonathan Gannon just as much as you are for this game, but I also got to tip my cap to Dallas here. It's not like their offense just all of a sudden showed up in week 16? No, this has been a good offense. And again, if the Eagles want to be an elite defense, not a good defense, they have to slow that offense up. But the offense can't give up 4 giveaways like they did. It was very uncharacteristic of them. I don't think that happens with Jalen Hurts in the game. And look, the defense still got to Dak Prescott. They're the only team over the last 2 years last year and a half to sack Dak Prescott 6 times. They're the first team since the 1976 49ers to have 6+ sacks in 4 straight games. They had 22 pressures. So clearly getting to the quarterback isn't the issue. I just think the secondary had a bad day, and maybe that's because they did not have Jordan Davis and Avonte Maddox for much of that game. Or another thing that bugged me is I love Darius Slay. I get along with Darius Slay very well. And I think he is right. I don't like the blame game at all. I just don't.
Hey, Geoff. So going back to the secondary, we know how thin it is. They have Darius Slay, they have James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, Gardner Johnson. After that, not much, right? So with the injuries to Maddox, with Gardner Johnson possibly coming back if he doesn't, would you be in consideration at all for Cre'Von LeBlanc? He's put out there that he wants to come back. Is this something that they could or should do?
Here's the thing. If this was Jim Schwartz, I would say yes. I don't know Cre'Von LeBlanc knows the system. That's what concerns me, right? You know, he hasn't played in Jonathan Gannon's system. And look, if Cre'Von LeBlanc's healthy, I'd give him a look, but it's almost like you're going from one system to the next. It's going to take him a while. It's not like Strap's going to be a plug and play here. And I do like Cre'Von LeBlanc. It's just, I don't know. I think maybe that ship has sailed. I just think you got to kind of go with what you got to go with right now. But again, the Eagles have done this before. They brought guys in like Darnell Ellerbe later in the season. So I don't know who'd be out there that's familiar with Gannon's system. I don't think it would hurt to bring a guy like that in, but I think you just got to trust the guys you got at this point.
Aside from covering the Eagles and the NFC East, Geoff Kerr also covers the NFL for CBS Sports. One of the big news items of the day, Nathaniel Hackett finally fired in Denver. What now? There's some rumors that are saying that, Sean Payton's sitting out there with the all-star, coaching staff, but Nick Fangio's the D coordinator. Other reports are that George Patton and Dan Quinn have the same agent. They might go in that direction. What are your thoughts on the situation in Denver?
If George Patton and Dan Quinn are the same agent, why didn't he just hire Dan Quinn to begin with? like he's available. First off, what is Denver doing with their interim head coach? They hired the guy that they hired in the middle of the season to help
the clock management guy. Yeah,
and he wasn't good at that. Nathaniel Hackett wasn't any better, so why bring him in? No wonder why these coaches don't trust anybody on the outside when you bring them in, right? I just don't understand what Denver's doing right now. Nathaniel Hackett was a terrible hire to begin with. Somehow he made Russell Wilson 20 points worse in passer rating, and I don't think Russell Wilson is as bad as he's been this year. I don't think he's been good as he's normally been here. I think part of this is on Russ, but don't you guys watching that game yesterday and I watched the Nickelodeon version, by the way, because I was not watching.
I missed that.
Oh, man. It was glorious. It was absolutely watching Patrick Starr just crucify Russell Wilson live was the best thing ever. So
I gotta say, I watched the CBS side and I enjoyed Romo basically loving all over Baker and Sean McVay.
So this is what made it funny. I just think Russ kind of gave up yesterday. I think he's just
Yep.
Yes.
I think that's what it was. I think he said, yeah, I got a guy wide open down here. I'm throwing it in the end zone. I don't care anymore. This guy's an idiot. And I think Russ knows that. I think the offensive line's kind of tuned Russ out too. I just think there's a whole mess that they need a structured guy in there. Nathaniel Hackett did not have command of that locker room. So they got to get a guy in there that knows what he's doing. And again, I wouldn't mind Sean Payton in Denver, but don't you think Sean Payton would not want to face Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert twice a year?
That's true. That's very true. I wouldn't want to face them a couple of times a year, Geoff, at all. Now, Geoff, I have a question for you regarding Nathaniel Hackett. Which was more of a waste of a time as a hire, Nathaniel Hackett or Urban Meyer?
Oh, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is way worse than Nathaniel. I still don't get why Urban Meyer was in the. Honestly, I wanted him to be in the NFL for people to finally see what the fraud he actually was. I just there are some people that are meant to coach in college. Urban Meyer's been one of them. Oh, by the way, Nathaniel Hackett wasn't a good offensive coordinator with the Jaguars, so I don't know how his status rose so high in Green Bay. I'm like, us three could coach Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I mean, we know enough about football where we can make plays here. And I just did not like the Nathaniel Hackett hire from day one, unless Aaron Rodgers went to Denver, which did not happen.
Yeah, don't tell Terry and Cherry Hill that. He thinks I'm really stupid. So,
do they think Nathaniel Hackett's a good coach because he's not a coach anymore?
It's actually Todd in Cherry Hill. Todd in Cherry Hill basically texts the show and complains every time I explain why a coach made a mistake. So,
by the way, I got one of the three. I don't want to be a head coach anymore. I am pretty much 2 losses away from Josh McDaniels potentially suffering the same fate. And I still don't know how Dennis Allen is a head coach in the NFL. Don't these owners get it? These guys sucked the first time. Why bring them back? Eric Bieniemy is just sitting there watching the Chiefs dominate. Deuce Staley, thank you. These guys, Ben Johnson would be a good head coach in Detroit. I know he didn't look good this week, but still, there's a lot of guys that are well-deserving of jobs. And yeah, let's just hire Josh McDaniels and Dennis Allen.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because Nick was talking to me earlier about the same situation. And I said the problem in New Orleans, Geoff, is the fact that it's an absentee ownership and Mickey Loomis is running 2 organizations in New Orleans.
He is. Like, isn't he running the Pelicans too?
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
And he's running that a heck of a lot better. He's running the Saints right now.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like the Benson family was just like, Mickey, you deal with this. Your husband's dead.
See, I would be the jerk. I would be here because I love the Sixers. If I ran the Eagles and Sixers, I probably would delegate everything for the Eagles and just sit in the box on Sundays and just run the Sixers. Be like, hey, I got James Harden, Joel Embiid. I don't have to do much here.
Geoff, before we let you go, I have to ask you the news that came out a little bit ago. Mike McDaniel announced that Tua was in concussion protocol. And it's like, I'm not trying to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. The dude threw 3 interceptions, and now all of a sudden he's in concussion protocol?
I thought it. I'm not saying it, but that was the first thought. I'm like, wait, he played the whole second half with a concussion? Is that what happened? Like, why didn't they take him out? They just not trust Teddy Bridgewater. I don't even know if Teddy Bridgewater was active that game. I'll be honest, guys, I could care less about the 3 games on Christmas yesterday. I was celebrating the holiday. I was watching the NBA. I saw those right. I watched Trace McSorley because I'm a Penn State grad and I love Trace McSorley. But I'm like, Tampa Bay sucks. I hope Carolina just beats the snot out of them this week. Put me out of my misery with the NFC South and Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
But back to Tua. Can we get back to Tua for a sec?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I still like every time Tua plays bad, are we just gonna say he has a concussion now? Is that what we're doing to protect the guy? Look, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he deserves another year, but isn't it concerning like he hasn't looked good the past couple of weeks?
I have a lot of concerns with the Dolphins right now because I feel like Mike McDaniel is a really good coach, but I feel like Tua is just too hit or miss right now, Geoff.
It's funny. I like Mike McDaniel too, but again, isn't it like the really, really big analytics guys? I'm an analytics guy too, but there's a lot of really big ones out there that think that's the only thing that matters in football. Don't you think Mike McDaniel was like their saving grace? And now he's not, and they're pivoting on him all of a sudden. Like, I think Mike McDaniel is actually a good coach. I think a lot of people could run his scheme, but it's very concerning how the Dolphins all of a sudden can't run the ball like they used to. Their defense is not good at all. And I mean, let's be real here. They should beat the Patriots this week. I think they get everything on the right track, but I think they need Tua to do it.
But guess what? They won't.
You actually think they're gonna lose to them? They never lose to the Patriots.
I think Belichick's seething after that Bengals loss. You know how Belichick gets when he's mad.
See, if I was Mike McDaniel, I would just chalk up the Packers loss and just be like, guys, we're playing the Patriots and we're playing the Jets. If we can't win one of these last 2 games and get in, I quit. Wrong. Yeah, I quit. like the Jets are an absolute atrocity. The sports right now.
Mike White's going to be back.
Oh, Mike White will probably lead them to the playoffs. That's the irony of it. I'm already. By the way, that was the game I enjoyed the most this week, Thursday night. Just watching Zach Wilson implode before our very eyes.
Hey, listen, I got to pat myself on the back. I had Jags money line. That was my on-air pick. So.
Oh, that was beautiful. I do a super contest every week, and I never pick a Thursday game. I picked this one. So
nice.
I was pretty happy about that.
Nice. At Geoff Kerr CBS on Twitter. Good Morning NFC East is back tomorrow morning on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Geoff, appreciate you jumping on today. Good stuff.
Josh, always a pleasure, my friend. Will I be seeing you later this week? I know I'm not on Wednesday, but are you doing a show Friday?
We have no show Friday because of bowl games.
Oh yeah, that's right. Isn't one of the big bowl games on Friday? I know the playoffs are Saturday. That's it.
If you would like to shuffle in on another day this week, shoot me a DM and let me know.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'll slide into those DMs for you.
See you, Jeff.
See you guys.
Josh Hennig filling in with Nick Earnshaw for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. We'll wrap up the show on the other side.
The best way to wake up is with Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's a red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%. And every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
If you like burritos, which you do because everyone does, you should try Taco Bell's Chipotle Ranch and Salsa Verde grilled chicken burritos. These masterpieces start with a warm flour tortilla that we stuff with grilled chicken. But the real stars here are the bold sauces, Chipotle Ranch or Salsa Verde. In fact, the chicken is the stage upon which these sauces shine. Like this mic is a stage for me to spotlight my theatrical range. 2 chicken burritos, 2 bold flavors, $2 each. Order on the Taco Bell app. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only. Contact local store for prices, hours, and participation which vary. Tax extra while supplies last.
O'Reilly. Improve visibility in your vehicle and save $10 on a pair of Trico Force wiper blades now at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Don't risk your safety because of bad wiper blades. Be ready for any weather. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades for free. Visit your local O'Reilly Auto Parts or O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
If you run a small business, you need the most from every investment. That's why Comcast Business gives you more. Like more innovation with our new gig speed Wi-Fi, plus unlimited data. More speed from the largest, fastest, reliable network for small businesses. And more savings, up to 60% a year with Comcast Business Mobile. All from the company that powers more businesses than any other provider. When you need more, you need Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast, reliable internet for just $49 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Or ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Call or go online today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. EcoBill and autopay required. New 50 megabits per second internet customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Mobile savings compares pricing of top 3 carriers. Comcast Business Internet required.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Kerr, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
Exciting news. There's a new way to head to Florida for some sunshine. It's with Avelo. Hello, Avelo. Save $20 off round-trip flights with promo code ESPN20 when you book and fly by April 30th, 2023. Avelo flies from Wilmington Airport to 5 different Florida destinations. So no more driving to Philly. No more dealing with parking hassle. Low fares for Avelo start at just $49 each way. Flights begin February 1st. Save $20 off round-trip flights with promo code ESPN20 when you book and fly by April 30th, 2023. Book now at AveloAir.com.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish, but those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14 days, and it's really that easy. Metamucil traps and removes the waste that weighs you down, so you feel lighter and more energetic. Now I never want to go back to that heavy feeling. Are you ready for the Metamucil 2-week challenge? For a coupon and daily support, sign up at Metamucil.com today.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for more details. That's MattBlattKiaNJ.com.
It's gotta be
Matt Blatt Kia.
Now, back to the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
All right, let's wrap up the show with some messages from the listeners over on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Joe in Galloway says, Josh, I can't see Sean Payton going to Denver since New Orleans will want compensation, which Denver is void of. Interesting point there.
Oh, good point.
Over on the text board, Phil chimed in a little bit earlier and said 27 points by the offense with a rusty Minshew with 4 turnovers and driving the ball last minute with Dallas. I'm not worried about them. It's going to be a beatdown next time they play each other.
I agree. With Jalen Hurts, you win.
And then Jeff in Ocean City says, Josh, I took San Francisco and Minnesota based on your advice Friday. Thank you. Waiting for your play for tonight. The play for tonight is this. Under. If you think that the Chargers and Colts are going to score more than 45 points tonight, that should answer all your questions about Monday Night Football. He's Nick. I'm Josh. Have a great night.
You haven't downloaded the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app? Well, go get it now to follow all the Philly sports teams at 97.3ESPN.com.